The year 2026 marks the beginning of a turbulent era. The world is engulfed by an unprecedented scientific catastrophe. Giant insects emerge, wreaking havoc everywhere. They dig deep underground, creating cracks leading to another world. In the darkness, eerie eyes of strange creatures watch humans from the abyss. Humanity divides, those awakened by radiation and the weak who cannot adapt. The lowly ones are exploited, forced into desperate labor. Chu Yi and his team struggle to load a giant monster's corpse onto a truck. Both collapse from exhaustion, gasping for breath. He looks up to see the captain standing before him. Before he can react, a slap burns across his cheek. The captain scolds harshly, while Chu Yi endures in silence. From afar, a still-living monster crawls closer with deadly intent. Chu Yi turns pale as fear overwhelms him. The captain realizes in terror that danger remains. The crowd panics and flees amid screams. A blur flashes past Chu Yi like a gust of wind. A cruel thought flashes through the captain's mind. An evil smile spreads across his face. A gunshot echoes, shaking the air. The bullet pierces Chu Yi's thigh, blood spurting out. He staggers, nearly collapsing. Blinded by pain, he searches for the shooter. The culprit is the captain, who makes no attempt to hide it. Chu Yi screams in despair as the captain laughs triumphantly. The captain walks away, leaving him as bait for the monster. Chu Yi lies motionless on the cold ground, realizing he was used as a decoy. He reaches out in despair, tears mixing with questions of his suffering. With a trembling voice, he admits he is useless and destined to be discarded. A small snake slithers across his dirt-covered hand. Chu Yi's weary eyes follow it. He feels a pang, thinking snakes seem to live easier than humans. They are strong and adaptable, unlike the dying weakling he is. As the monster nears, Chu Yi contemplates the next life. Maybe being a snake wouldn't be so bad. A flash of light bursts within the void. A mysterious system activates, endlessly reconstructing his body after countless failures. On the 1999th attempt, the transformation succeeds. The scene shifts, and he appears in a filthy alley. Chu Yi raises his hand but sees it is no longer human. He finds a shard of glass nearby to look into. Seeing the reflection, he screams in horror. A snake's image stares back his new form. Chu Yi cries out in shock, unable to believe it. He realizes he has truly become a snake. Examining his body, he sees two arms growing naturally from it. Looking down his back, he notices a strange structure he can't comprehend. As he moves slightly, wings suddenly unfold, lifting him into the air. Not yet used to his new body, he crashes painfully into a wall. Chu Yi rubs his head, realizing he can control the wings by moving his back. He laments, regretting his foolish wish before dying. The system immediately scolds him for mocking the power of the insect god. The system crosses its arms, clearly irritated. It says that for 5 millennia only he begged for power. It planned to grant him the ultimate blessing, yet he changed his mind midway. Chu Yi worries but forces a pleading smile. He kneels, begging the system with every title he can think of for forgiveness. But the god only stares coldly, showing no emotion. Then it spreads its wings and vanishes into the sky as if it never existed. A hollow voice announces, "System offline! The roach god despises you!" Chu Yi sadly realizes he has offended his savior. Time passes in solitude as he screams daily for the system to return. All efforts fail. No matter how he begs, the system remains silent. From afar, two curious snakes chat, and Chu Yi is shocked to understand them. Under the pale moonlight, he curls in a dark corner, clutching his loneliness. Watching his kind, he feels disgusted by his own form. Seeing them eat waste, he feels nauseated and cannot bear the sight. A fat snake named Xiaopang notices his look. It warmly invites Chu Yi to join, explaining it's how young snakes grow. Chu Yi is utterly horrified. He stammers for it to stop and panics, shoving Xiaopang over. The poor snake rolls on the ground, face downcast. It complains bitterly about its hurt feelings. Chu Yi, embarrassed, mocks it to rinse its mouth before talking. Night falls again. Chu Yi collapses, exhausted, tears falling from humiliation and envy. Hunger torments him, and he fears he'll go mad enough to eat the waste. He crawls to a black trash bag, his snake instincts blocked, but human will still strong. With faint hope, Chu-Yi slashes the bag open, believing something inside might save him. After rummaging through the garbage, he rejoices at finding 3-year-old expired snacks, but the joy fades instantly. The snacks are moldy, yet the system coldly declares they're still edible for energy. He recoils in disgust at the grotesque food. But his growling stomach slowly weakens his resolve. Finally, Chu-Yi closes his eyes and bites, tears mixing with greasy flavor as he realizes being a snake has its own pleasures. In the following days, he drifts in silence, the system still unresponsive. He laments that an insect's life is harsher than a human's. He once thought of dying, but snakes seem unable to die easily. The fear of the old monster returns, making Chu-Yi shiver in despair. Watching his kin sleep, he suddenly considers becoming their leader to survive. He encourages himself, believing human intellect can help him rise despite lacking power. He nudges Xiaopeng to form an alliance, but it responds with indifference. The fat snake grumbles, waving him off to stay away. Chu-Yi sits silently, realizing power lies not in existence, but in being acknowledged. From that thought, he resolves to prove himself. Time passes until the 20th day when his long-awaited chance arrives. The clan leader announces they must leave to find new food, abandoning any who stay. Xiaopeng cries over lost food while Chu-Yi mocks the lazy snakes living off trash. Xiaopeng weeps louder, begging to stay, making Chu-Yi snap and yell at him to stop. Looking around, he sees every snake terrified to leave, their cowardice disappointing him. He shouts, challenging anyone brave enough to step forward. But silence fills the air, heavy and tense. Chu-Yi folds his arms arrogantly, thinking he doesn't need such weaklings. Suddenly, the system speaks in the roach god's voice. It declares that if Chu-Yi accepts the mission, he might be forgiven. Hope flares, and Chu-Yi immediately jumps up. He boldly declares he will lead the way. Xiaopeng looks up in admiration, praising his courage. Chu-Yi smiles inwardly, thinking his glorious days are near. The scene shifts. He and a few snakes stand at the base of a ruined dam. He grows suspicious that the mission is just to cross the dam, unease rising as Xiaopeng trembles in protest. It explains that when food runs out, young snakes are sent to scout life-or-death paths. Survival chances are slim. They could all be slaughtered any time. Chu-Yi pales, realizing this is a death sentence. He suspects the roach god is using him for revenge. Angry, Chu-Yi decides to withdraw, thinking there are safer ways to eat. But before he can turn, Xiaopeng goes pale as the leader slithers up behind them. His cold, metallic voice asks where Chu-Yi thinks he's going. Then he tempts them with promises of a monster feast beyond the dam. Chu-Yi gets excited, believing snakes are now strong enough to hunt alien beasts. He makes an excuse about dieting, refusing the dangerous journey. But the leader's eyes flash coldly as his hand grabs Chu-Yi. He grips Chu-Yi's neck, threatening that deserters will be eaten. Chu-Yi struggles in despair, fury rising as he realizes even as a stronger creature, the cruel law of survival never changes. Old memories return Chu-Yi trembling as the base manager once used him as bait for food. That man hypocritically called it a chance to survive for the weak. Chu-Yi grits his teeth, comparing today's leader to him both ruthless and heartless. Just like before, the snake leader coldly throws him into the abyss, calling it a blessing. His foot presses Chu-Yi's head down, forcing him into fear and humiliation. But a fire of defiance ignites within him. He vows never to be trampled again. With blazing eyes, Chu-Yi resolves to reclaim his lost power to survive. His voice echoes in the darkness, firm like a vow. He leads the snakes along the steep cliff, warning them to be careful. He orders them to split into teams and signal at any sign of danger. Suddenly, he feels a pull and turns to scold Xiaopeng, only to see him trembling and clinging in fear. Chu-Yi pauses, a flicker of pity in his eyes. Looking around, he senses something unusual about the place. The dam structure looks unnatural, deepening his suspicion. A snake above shouts down, urging them to stop since nothing seems odd. The leader sneers, greed flashing in his eyes, fearing others might steal his prize. He commands everyone to fly straight across and attack any creature ahead. Chu Yi watches heavily, bitterly aware he's just a disposable pawn. He doesn't notice the surrounding rocks trembling suspiciously. When he turns back, huge eyes glow red in the darkness, freezing his heart. As things become clear, the rocks are actually camouflaged creatures. They are giant mutated frogs. Their bodies are covered with false stone shells, waiting to ambush prey. Xiaopang cries in terror, trembling uncontrollably. From the frogs' mouths, tongues shoot out like spears, impaling snakes. Screams tear the air as Chu Yi can only gape in silent despair. Chu Yi screams hoarsely, urging the others to flee. He shouts for Alexa, commanding flight. The system activates immediately, reporting biological data of the hostile creatures. It details the mutant amphibians able to leap far, their toxic tongues deadly, weak only when prey stays still. Chu Yi trembles but calms Xiaopang, telling him to lie still and stay unseen. Suddenly, the insect god appears, his voice echoing with divine authority amid deathly silence. It reveals it has watched Chu Yi's every move and now offers two fateful choices. 1. Escape safely. 2. Save his ally to earn the path of the Snake King. Chu Yi hesitates, mind torn between survival and honor. The sobbing behind him stills his thoughts, showing his human heart fighting instinct. Xiaopang, tears streaming, pleads to him in despair. He weakly says, "Boss, you've stood still for 5 seconds already." Human memories flood back, making Chu Yi's lips tremble. He realizes what he truly desired was never power. What he wanted most was a hand reaching out to save him. The roach god coldly interrupts, starting the countdown to choose. In that instant, Chu Yi understands he still longs to be saved. He leaps forward, pouring all his strength to drag Xiaopang from the frogs, shouting and trembling while cursing to release fear. Xiaopang cries and laughs, yelling thanks amid the chaos, while Chu Yi shouts at him to shut up. He exerts all his strength to pull his friend upward. Below, the frogs open their mouths, teeth lined with spines ready to swallow them whole. Chu Yi's arms go numb, nearly letting go from exhaustion. Then Xiaopang slips from his grasp, falling while screaming for his big brother. The monster's jaws close and Chu Yi screams helplessly. But at that moment, the system's solemn yet emotional voice resounds. The roach god declares that Chu Yi's selfless act moved him deeply. Before the frogs react, Chu Yi is enveloped in protective energy. The system activates an anti-swallow reaction, reversing the situation. Chu Yi is granted a new trait, the springing tongue of a mutant frog and potent corrosive mucus. Green liquid shoots straight into the frog's face. A notification announces the ceremony of divine reward. Suddenly, a human foot covered in green slime appears. The system fulfills the wish, restoring Chu Yi's body. The deformed frog freezes, calm before danger. The mucus splashes onto Chu Yi's face, making him pause. He beams as if freed from chains, smiling victoriously. He shouts loudly, declaring his return. The insect beings cheer, acknowledging Chu Yi as a worthy successor. Chu Yi points at his chest, confused, asking if he'll turn into a snake again. The insects laugh, saying snakes symbolize immortality. Chu Yi scratches his head, admitting he doesn't understand, and asks for a simpler answer. The insect god roars angrily that immortality isn't bound by form. Chu Yi drifts into thought, feeling light as autumn wind. He realizes he needs no change of form to be praised for loyalty. Suddenly, his foot steps on something slick with a sharp crack. The insects lean down as Chu Yi freezes in horror. Before he can rejoice, he screams, realizing the horrifying truth. Xiaopang weakly says he accidentally killed the one who saved him. Chu Yi fears turning back into a snake and tells himself to stay calm and act well. The insect god sighs, disappointed for choosing such a fool. Chu Yi instantly puts on a stunning act, eyes filled with emotion. He rolls and cries in grief, blaming himself for his friend's death. He screams, begging fate to take his life instead. The insect god pauses, moved by his deep bond, declaring Xiaopang immortal. The system presents evidence that the immortal one, like the Iron Horse King, can endlessly revive. The insect god encourages him to slay the monsters to gather energy for revival. A fighting fire ignites in Chu-yi, his eyes blazing with resolve. He grits his teeth, vowing to make the frogs remember their terror forever. The mutated frog freezes, its body stiff with fear. It lunges so fast that Chu-yi can't react, clinging to his arm. Chu-yi roars in fury, shouting it can't possibly challenge him. A warning blares, telling him not to touch the mutant frog. He looks down to see acid burning through his arm in pain. The searing agony makes him thrash wildly in despair. The frog mistakes him for a worm and flicks its long tongue. Its tongue lashes out in a precise strike. The hit lands on a weak spot, sending pain shooting through Chu-yi. He jumps like a staggering dancer to dodge the counterattack. To his shock, the creature touches his forbidden spot. Chu-yi cries pitifully to his foster god, who scolds him for sloppy fighting. He stares blankly, asking about his own power he still doesn't understand. The insect god explains the ability devour all forms, absorbing power through eating. He throws a frog into Chu-yi's mouth, making him swallow in horror. The disgusting taste makes him spit green slime and scream non-stop. The insect god coldly warns that avoidance only leads to death. By now, Chu-yi is surrounded by a mountain of frogs closing in. He yells as one clings tightly to him. But he calms himself, realizing he has nothing left to lose. Chu-yi gathers all his courage and bites into the creature without hesitation. He lunges and devours the mutant frog fiercely. The system activates Devour All Forms, recording acid, leap, and elastic muscle abilities. The newfound power fills Chu-yi with excitement. He roars, declaring it's his turn to strike back. Tearing through his shredded clothes, he charges into battle. A flurry of attacks crushes the frog horde. He laughs proudly, feeling lonely in victory. Suddenly, a blinding light shines from ahead. He shields his eyes, hearing the rumble of car engines. Inside a vehicle, the captain frowns at the naked man fighting monsters. Unaware, Chu-yi waves as if greeting an old friend. But a cold order rings out. Fire tranquilizer darts. Subdue the target. The convoy halts, blocking his path. Chu-yi glances at the emblem on the vehicle. He quickly recognizes it as the mark of the extermination unit, awe flooding his heart. He recalls legends of humanity's strongest organization in the apocalypse. They specialized in killing monsters, guarding abyssal pits, and maintaining order. Chu-yi places full faith in them. Seeing their arrival, he tearfully cries out for help. But only a storm of darts whizzes back at him. He staggers and collapses as the toxin seeps into his body. The extermination soldiers move in to capture the prisoner. Yet he remains standing, face eerily calm. Then his body trembles as the darts slowly pop out of his flesh. The system reports a new ability, flexible muscle control to avoid damage. Each arrow bounces off, clattering to the ground. The brown-haired man shouts a warning, and the blue-haired deputy orders combat readiness. Chu-yi panics, raising his hands to beg for a chance to explain. The brown-haired man ignores him and pulls the trigger without hesitation. Gunfire echoes, then silence. The blue-haired deputy turns to the man named Ai-Lin. That figure stands atop the vehicle, commanding to capture the target alive, completely unhinging Chu-yi. Chu-yi mutters in frustration at being misunderstood as motorcycle engines roar in. No matter how fast he is, he can't match the charging convoy. The extermination unit closes the encirclement around him. A warrior swings a rope, aiming to bind him from afar. Multiple cords shoot out, tightening around his body. Wrongly captured, Chu-yi can only watch as they drag him away. The ropes hook to motorcycles, pulling him across the rough ground. His body is dragged, covered in dust like an unwilling ornament. His wrists are bound and pulled painfully wide apart. The pain makes him grit his teeth, veins bulging on his forehead. The system activates the frog's acid ability, secreting corrosive slime. Green liquid seeps from Chu-yi's skin. The ropes dissolve and snap within seconds. The extermination unit stumbles in shock at the sudden event. Ai-Lin watches, both puzzled and intrigued. The blue-haired deputy shouts confirmation that Chu-yi is also an awakened. The team immediately pursues, ordered to capture the target alive. The brown-haired man lunges, locking his arms around Chu-yi's waist. But his grip slips because of the acidic slime. White smoke rises as his gloves corrode rapidly. Instead of fear, he grins, thrilled to face a strong opponent. 282, another member, reacts with lightning speed. He leaps frog style, appearing behind Chu Yi and startling him. The impact cracks the ground, yet he still can't catch Chu Yi. The brown-haired man attacks straight at Chu Yi's face without hesitation. Chu Yi dodges clumsily, but avoids harm. He quickly calls the system, activating Frog Leap for support. Instantly, he springs high, soaring past his opponent like a flare. Using the gap, Chu Yi charges forward to escape. He even stomps provocatively, taunting his pursuers. But suddenly, his body loses balance. A purple cloth flies from nowhere, wrapping tightly around his leg and yanking hard. Ailin appears, coldly asking if he really thought he could escape, then tightens the cord. From her gloves, long violet wires extend, binding Chu Yi in an instant. Hes jerked backward and slams painfully into the ground. Ailin coldly steps on his head as the deputy reports, "This is Target 13. She spins gracefully and jumps onto her motorcycle to depart. Chu Yi, bound tightly, is dragged along the road, body covered in dust pitifully. His screams drown out the blaring horns around the vehicles. Everything happens in an instant. The extermination unit vanishes from public sight, speeding away like the wind. A blue glowing gate opens at the city's defensive perimeter. From the vehicle comes the shout reporting Vice Captain Ailin's return and Suzaku gate opening. She drives calmly while Chu Yi groans. The order follows. Open the gate slightly, prevent any monsters from entering. She maneuvers her motorcycle smoothly, making Chu Yi dizzy. He gazes up at the massive steel wall, amazed by its solidity. They throw him a prisoner's outfit. He dresses while grumbling, scolded as a talking nudist. Ailin sternly warns everyone to stay alert. She recalls the strange chain of cases, 12 naked figures appearing, radiating unknown energy that unsettles her. The brown-haired woman suggests killing them all to avoid trouble, but teammates oppose her cruelty. Chu Yi overhears and realizes he's mistaken for one of them, trembling in fear. He panics, asking the system about gene inspection, but the insect god remains silent. He holds his breath, sensing impending doom. The heavy iron gate creaks open with an eerie groan. The short-haired woman warns Chu Yi to stay silent, then gasps as the lights suddenly go out. Ailin spins around, demanding to know if the other prisoners have been transferred yet. The brown-haired girl panics, stammering without an answer. They discover that the other captured people have vanished without a trace. A sense of danger spreads, and Ailin becomes highly alert. One prisoner suddenly swells, body twisting into a horrifying deformity. All eyes turn in terror at the unnatural scene. The brown-haired girl freezes upon seeing figures hanging upside down from the ceiling. Chungi is shocked, unable to comprehend what he's witnessing. The mutants' heads balloon like floating orbs, their soulless eyes chilling everyone. Only the bald old man remains unchanged, his red-hot body radiating demonic killing intent. The crack on his head widens, skin tearing apart. A giant mushroom sprouts from it, covered with countless eerie eyes. The brown-haired girl and Chungi stand frozen before the horror. The mad mushroom creature charges like a poisonous wind. Long tentacles stretch out, wrapping everyone in an instant. Only Ailin reacts in time, guided by sharp combat instincts. She leaps aside, letting the tentacles smash the floor with a roaring echo. Her lips curl as she realizes this is the monster's true form. The gray-haired girl fails to dodge, bound tightly by a tentacle. Red marks spread across her skin like venomous webs, making her scream in agony. Chungi is also caught, panicking in confusion. The insect god appears, urging him to devour the spores before transforming. The giant mushroom screeches, demanding Ailin's body. She raises an eyebrow, amused that it can speak, and smiles faintly. The brown and gray-haired girls move like puppets, charging at her. Ailin shoots purple silk to the wall, using it as support. She pulls hard, springing upward to dodge in a flash. She calculates that close combat is impossible without magic crystals. Her eyes gleam as she spots a surgical knife on a nearby cart. She uses silk to grab a knife, planning a counterattack. Without hesitation, she hurls the blade at the mushroom creature. but the monster moves faster, pulling the two girls as human shields. The sight makes her pause for a split second. Ailin twists her wrist, jerking the silk to redirect the blade. The knife grazes past the gray-haired girl's face by mere centimeters. At the same time, Chun-Yi frantically bites off spores clinging to him. He panics as the spread outpaces his devouring, the insect god shouting at him to finish. Despite the nauseating stench, he swallows them all in despair. The system reports successful spore absorption, granting the trait parasite resistance. His resistance stat jumps sharply from 35 to 46%. Ailin grips the knife, scornfully cursing the monster for cursing itself. She hurls the knife furiously at the mushroom being, condemning its cowardice. The creature confidently pulls the girls forward as shields, roaring in defiance. Ailin only smirks coldly, replying with biting sarcasm. Her purple silk threads slip past the hostages without touching them. The silk threads dodge all obstacles, striking precisely. The dagger follows the threads, flying like lightning. Multiple stabs pierce the mushroom's body, making it shriek in pain. Ailin silently confirms her guess the monster's core is its weakness. But suddenly both girls start bleeding at the same spots. Ailin freezes, unable to believe what she sees. The monster regenerates, pushing the blades out, laughing as it shares the pain. She frowns, irritated by this troublesome ability. The mushroom creature points a tentacle at her, sneering that she's trapped too. She looks down in horror to see her hand covered in spores. Her arm, hypnotized, slowly rises to strangle her neck. No matter how she struggles, her own hand betrays her, cutting off her breath. The mushroom roars, declaring she'll have no chance to fight back. But its voice falters upon seeing her strange expression. Ailin's choking hands suddenly loosen as a calm smile appears. Her hands are bound by purple threads, letting her regain control and reverse the situation. She uses her right hand to restrain the parasitized left, keeping her breathing steady. She realizes her spider thread skill can be used on herself to nullify control. Using that, she pulls threads to aim the surgical knife at the mushroom creature. The blade shoots like lightning, cutting off the spores on her hand. Blood seeps out, but she coldly declares it's over. The monster laughs eerily, warning she'll collapse after losing more blood. It again drags the two girls as shields, threatening to kill them if she attacks. Ailin stays calm, replying that she won't give up even in death. At that moment, it notices Chun-Yi secretly devouring spores in the dark. The discovery drives it mad, roaring that it can't control him. In rage, it swings its tentacle, accidentally breaking his restraints. Chun-Yi screams in fear, realizing he can't run anymore. Ailin's magic threads shoot out instantly, binding his whole body. Everything happens in a flash. She yanks hard, pulling him out of danger. The mushroom creature freezes, stunned and motionless. Chun-Yi falls to the ground, groaning in pain. Regaining composure, he looks up and sincerely thanks his savior. Seeing Ailin from the side, he blushes, nosebleeds, and stammers his gratitude. Ailin's face darkens like ash at the sight. She grabs his collar, shouting while Chun-Yi panics, insisting it's a misunderstanding. Without another word, Ailin turns to face the monster, coldly offering two options. One, both die together. Two, she blocks while he escapes to deliver the message. Hearing that, Chun-Yi's eyes light up as he thinks seriously. He steps forward, boldly declaring option C. Ailin is stunned, asking again in disbelief. Chun-Yi firmly replies, calling to join forces to destroy the ugly mushroom monster. Ailin is utterly shocked, questioning why he'd rushed toward death. Old memories long buried echo inside Chun-Yi's mind. He recalls the moment of despair from betrayal, the wound in his heart still bleeding. The image of a lonely hand reaching out into the void appears vividly. He speaks softly, voice heavy with pain, saying he once watched helplessly as comrades left. Chun-Yi stands firm, eyes resolute, declaring that cowards are worse than monsters. Ailin sighs in admiration outwardly, but secretly curses his foolishness. Chun-Yi beams with confidence, believing he's found the monster's weakness and victory is near. The mushroom creature goes berserk, roaring in contempt at lustful humans in battle. It lashes hundreds of tentacles, attacking while threatening to kill them both. Chungi shouts for Ai-Lin to control his body to fight instead. She replies coldly, unsure she can even keep him alive. Purple threads wrap tightly around his body like a battle puppet. With determined eyes, Ai-Lin guides his every move, shouting commands. Under her control, Chungi charges forward, dodging strikes swiftly like the wind. The mushroom monster roars furiously as its defenses are breached. It flings the gray-haired girl toward Chungi. Ai-Lin waves her hand, manipulating spider silk with extreme precision. Chungi leaps, using her shoulder as support to vault ahead. As he lands, he faces the brown-haired girl rushing at him, screaming. Ai-Lin calmly redirects the silk flow, maintaining control. Chungi slides low, slipping neatly between the opponent's legs. He plants his hand, pushing off to launch his next jump. His agile burst stuns the mushroom creature with unexpected speed. It roars, realizing Ai-Lin is the one controlling Chungi. Ai-Lin smirks and says briefly, "So you finally noticed." She drives Chungi forward, unleashing a powerful punch at the monster. Chungi shouts, pouring all his strength into the strike. But the monster reacts in time, forming a solid defense barrier. Ai-Lin frowns slightly, sensing the strike lacks enough force. Chungi doesn't back down, continuing his fierce assault. The system chimes, activating muscle enhancement and acid secretion abilities. His body swells, each punch landing like thunderous destruction. The monster screams in agony, emitting horrifying sounds. Ai-Lin freezes, astonished by his hidden potential power. The mushroom's wounds bubble and melt under the acid fluid. It howls in disbelief at the overwhelming strength. Chungi only smirks, eyes cold and sharp. The monster screams that it can convert received damage, but seconds later its eyes widen in horror. The wounds keep disintegrating without stopping. It thrashes, realizing Ai-Lin has rescued the two girls. In her hand gleams a cluster of parasitic spores. She smiles mockingly, saying she's taken them. She crushes them without hesitation. She says coldly, curious to see how it looks when it explodes. The monster trembles with rage, glaring in helpless fury. Green viscous liquid seeps from its body, releasing a strange odor. The balloon-headed creatures nearby begin shaking violently. In an instant, all explode at once, blood splattering everywhere. Ai-Lin and Chungi are horrified as the blood flows toward the monster. Chungi shouts in shock at the sight. The mushroom creature is covered in thick black-red fluid. Both frown, sensing the rise of deadly energy. The red-black slime boils, causing its body to swell like burning fire. It mutates, becoming gigantic and ferocious. Its tentacles twitch non-stop, oozing killing intent. They whip violently, producing terrifying echoes. With a thunderous roar, the monster charges in a mad assault. Facing it, Chungi stands wounded yet fierce, while Ai-Lin clenches her fists, ready to fight. The mushroom bears sharp teeth, 4 eyes glowing eerily as it taunts the humans. It swings a massive fist at Ai-Lin, moving too fast to react. A blast erupts, rocks flying as no one can follow the motion. Her slender body is thrown against the wall, letting out a faint groan. She grits her teeth, enduring pain spreading through her body. Ai-Lin roars, realizing the enemy's power now far surpasses before. Before she can counter, a giant claw strikes down from above. It slams her small body into the rough ground. The brutal blow shows no restraint. Her body is flung again, rolling across the floor. Dark red blood spills from Ai-Lin's lips. She trembles, body torn and battered, enduring wave after wave of pain. Finished with her, the monster turns to Chungi, growling about his attack. It hisses, eyes flashing with hatred. Chungi instantly senses deadly danger. Before he can react, the monster charges like a storm. A devastating blow sends him flying, blood spraying from his mouth. His body slams hard onto the floor, groaning in pain. He lies flat, nearly unable to move. A system message appears, body shattered, organs failing, blood flooding. The system coldly displays, trait undying activated. His wounds begin healing, energy spreading throughout his body. Chungi gasps, terrified by the nearness of death. A mysterious insect spirit appears, warning him to stay still or die for real. Chungi trembles, lying motionless, heart pounding in fear. He glances toward Ai-Lin, praying she can still endure. The red monster glares at him mockingly, voice dripping with disdain. While laughing in triumph, it's suddenly struck by a powerful blow. It turns in fury, searching for the attacker. In front of it stands Ailin's decisive kick, brimming with killing intent. But it quickly grabs her leg mid-air, grinning wickedly. Ailin freezes, horrified at being caught. It slams her repeatedly into the floor like breaking a toy. Blow after blow lands relentlessly, mercilessly brutal. Finally, it hurls her into the ceiling, shaking the whole place. Blood gushes from Ailin's mouth as her body convulses in overwhelming pain. It slams its hand onto the chair that once imprisoned it, roaring out hatred toward the past. Each word it speaks drips with resentment and venom. As Ailin falls, a massive punch strikes, making her writhe in agony. Blood gushes all over, the stench spreading as she coughs and sees her shattered legs. She moans weakly, admitting her legs are no longer intact. Yet a faint smile appears as she whispers, "At least her hands still move." The monster slowly approaches, each step heavy like a death knell. Chungi watches, heart tightening in despair as even the vice captain falls. In the panic, he hears a faint sound beside him. A dying girl raises her hand, a glowing stone in her torn palm, whispering to give it to Ailin. Chungi freezes, eyes fixed on the shining gem. He trembles as he takes it, filled with hesitation and fear. He agonizes over how to reach Ailin amid the deadly battle. The monster keeps advancing, its shadow engulfing her fallen body like swallowing hope itself. The insect god appears, calculating coldly, advising him to activate acceleration to find an opening. It reports the success rate at only 10%, making Chungi scream inwardly in rage. With calm eyes, the insect god states the choice: 10% survival or certain death. Chungi grits his teeth, wagering his life on the desperate gamble. The system activates instantly, his muscles glowing with intense light. He roars, launching himself off the ground straight toward Ailin. The monster senses movement, turning its cold, murderous gaze. The insect god recalculates, warning the chance has dropped to 5%, yet Chungi doesn't stop. He leaps over the giant body, propelled by incredible strength toward his comrade. The insect god shouts there's only 1% left, but Chungi smiles faintly, seeing her ahead. In that instant, a massive tentacle lashes out, grabbing his leg tightly. The monster roars in fury, hissing questions in a terrifying tone. Before he can react, it slams him into the stone floor, the blast shaking the entire space. The insect god whispers hopelessly, 0%. The monster's shadow engulfs the room, towering like a moving mountain. It lifts its foot, preparing to crush the bloodied Chungi beneath it. Though his body is broken, his eyes still burn toward Ailin, defying fate and the 0% destiny. At that very spot, the final chance flickers between life and death. In that decisive moment, Chungi throws the glowing gem toward Ailin, shouting for her to catch it. At the same time, the monster's giant foot crashes down, crushing his body as the ground quakes. It laughs gleefully, raising its foot to deliver the finishing blow, mocking the weak. But just as it prepares to strike, it suddenly freezes, sensing something strange. Purple threads suddenly spread over Chungi's body, wrapping him like a life-protecting armor. The monster hisses suspiciously, muttering about the spiderweb woman. The glowing silk covers Ailin, forming a shining armor as she trembles, moved by Chungi's reckless act. The radiant threads spread through the air like moonlit ribbons. She waves her hand, controlling the silk to bind the crimson monster tightly. It struggles violently, growling in rage as it's restrained. Ailin pulls hard, dragging the giant body toward her. Her right arm turns into a silk blade, blazing with fighting spirit. Her eyes flare as she chants, the blade glowing with lethal intent. She swings and shouts, "Monster, die!" But the fatal strike fails to bring the expected result. The sight before her leaves her frozen in disbelief. The monster still stands tall, unharmed, its arrogant voice mocking humanity. It grabs the shining sword in her hand. With one snap, the blade shatters like silk torn by the wind. Then it grips Ailin's neck, lifting her into the air. In an instant, a spike pierces her abdomen, blood spraying as her eyes fade in horror. Torn and broken, Chun-gi lifts his head, heart aching at the sight. Ailin is impaled by her own blade, drenched in blood, her breath weakening. He despairs silently, cold dread spreading as he thinks it's over. The monster sneers, turning its other hand into a blade to finish her off. But just as death closes in, 5:56, its two arms are suddenly severed, flying away before it realizes what happened. Both the monster and Chun-gi are stunned by the lightning-fast strike. Ailin is caught and lowered gently by a burly man with great strength. Behind him, several figures in uniform appear. The monster roars furiously, demanding their identities. A long-haired girl with glasses steps forward, eyes cold and sharp. She scans the area, gaze pausing on the wounded scattered around. After checking their state, she sighs heavily, voice low, injuries too severe, bones and organs completely crushed. That girl is the captain of Extermination Squad number 10. She orders her teammate Hale to take out the green gem and start healing immediately. The one who saved Ailin, a bearded giant with a bear-like aura, is Faluo, captain of Squad 2. He rumbles, "Relax. No creature survives my hand to reach you." Beside them stands Chief Commander Kaylee Lian, a bearded man with a long sword, laughing confidently that Hell personally entertained the talking monster. Ailin whispers weakly in Faluo's arms, warning Kaylee Lian that this foe is unlike any before. But Kaylee Lian keeps his proud smile, thumbs up, replying confidently that he too is extraordinary. Meanwhile, Hale focuses completely, shouting for silence to begin the healing ritual. The green gem glows brightly, spreading life energy throughout the space. From the ground, grass and sprouts rise, flowers bloom, and healing power surrounds the wounded. That strength embraces them gently, like a mother soothing her children's pain. Faluo carefully places Ailin in the heart of a giant blooming flower. Chun-gi is also drawn into a soft flower, light enveloping his whole body. The petals close, wrapping him in warm, sweet fragrance. A soothing sensation spreads through him like bathing in a hot spring. Drowsiness overtakes him, pulling him into unconsciousness. At that moment, the insect god appears, panicking and injecting adrenaline, making Chun-gi scream in pain. Hale glances toward his flower, humming lightly, saying the reaction is good. The insect god grins knowingly, saying he should stay awake to witness the true power of the elite captains. Kaylee Lian steps forward, calmly facing the monster with divine authority. He speaks evenly, introducing himself as the chief of the Extermination Corps and inviting the foe to talk. But the monster growls disdainfully, declaring it will never speak with food. The air turns instantly heavy, dark, and tense. Lian frowns slightly, his eyes sharp as blades scanning for anomalies. Not far away, bright red liquid begins seeping from the cracked brick walls. The fluid thickens and spreads across the floor like flowing blood. It condenses into countless monsters. Their leader roars, boasting of devouring all imprisoned kin. Other crimson creatures form, screaming in unison, promising a massacre with no escape. From within the flower, Chun-gi stares in terror at the sea of monsters surrounding them, heart pounding as he calls Faluo's name in despair. Not far away, Faluo activates his body, unleashing a storm of energy. His arm swings like lightning, slicing monsters apart, the air whistling like steel. The creatures shriek, their bodies trembling. A whirlwind rises around Hale, shielding her amid the chaos. The swirling air forms a solid barrier, steady as an unmovable stone. Fellow calls out, "Hale, it'll hold them, deal with the blood stench yourself." Hale puffs her cheeks, scolding, "You're lucky I still put up with you, useless brute." Chun-gi is stunned by the overwhelming might of the commanders. The monster roars excitedly, saying, "Good! 2 captains deal with them first." As it speaks, its arm is severed, blood splattering everywhere. It screams in pain as its body absorbs strange energy. For a brief moment, 603, its arms regenerate, transforming into an even more massive, monstrous form. Chun-gi gasps, thinking, "It can still evolve? That's cheating?" Keliwalian smiles, saying he envies their ability while he must work hard to grow stronger. The monster doesn't answer, roaring and throwing a colossal punch. Keliwalian dodges lightly. His movements flow like water, calm and graceful. The two sides slowly struggle. One attacks, one defends, the fight is tense. He moves swiftly, unsettling his opponent. The monster goes mad like a provoked insect. Suddenly, tentacles wrap tightly around Cory. He laughs in surprise, finding it amusing. The creature roars proudly, declaring his doom. But instantly, Cory draws the sword behind him. With one swing, the giant body is sliced apart. As his feet touch the ground, the monster explodes, pieces scattering everywhere. The remaining foe freezes, confused by what happened. Cory raises his hand, pointing straight ahead. His eyes, cold as steel, lock onto the creature. The monster trembles, dissolving, leaving only a slimy octopus head. Cory acts swiftly. He stores the creature inside a small tube. He laughs triumphantly, saying he caught it. He boasts that the first talking creature now belongs to him and hell name it. Harley and Pharaoh sigh tiredly, saying they should think of how to report the destroyed lab. Both speak wearily, saying their boss is hopeless. Zhou is shocked, realizing the huge power gap, the insect god exclaims. Then laughs, saying it's fine if he faints now. Night falls, the scene shifts to a cold, silent hallway. Zhou wakes from unconsciousness, still dazed. As his awareness returns, he panics, finding himself naked in a bathtub. He mutters in confusion, wondering why he's here. A faint sound startles him to look around. A girl's silhouette appears behind a thin curtain. His face flushes, heart racing, confused by the situation. A soft yet bold female voice says from behind the curtain, "So you're finally awake." She steps out, body revealed, calmly explaining he hasn't passed gene checks, so she's keeping him at her home. Zhou blushes and awkwardly asks if being naked is necessary. Aylin folds her arms and sneers, saying the hot water's only available now, so why be shy? She introduces herself as Aylin, deputy leader of the extermination squad, thanking him and asking his name. Zhou softly replies, "I am Zhou." She casually steps into the tub, splashing water. Zhou shuts his eyes tightly, blushing. She firmly orders him to turn around so she can check his wound. He shyly obeys, letting her touch his back. He groans inwardly that this girl knows no boundaries. After a while, Aylin cheers happily that his wound has healed without scars. She slaps his back and laughs, praising him as not bad. The insect god appears, noting rising heart rate and male hormones, asking if reproduction support is needed. Zhou panics and shouts no. Aylin sighs tiredly, asking him to look at her chest wound, saying the monster was cruel. He turns curiously, stunned as she points to her chest, innocently saying it still has scars. The system warns of physiological stimulation and starts a reproduction countdown 5, 4, 3. Before it finishes, Zhou leaps out and dashes away like a shot. He shouts quickly that he has things to do and tells her to keep bathing. He dashes out of the room in an instant. He pants outside the door, sweat soaking his body. Feeling both embarrassed and angry, he mutters that he almost died, then yells at the system, calling it a bastard for trying to kill him. The TV suddenly blares, announcing strong fluctuations near Manhwa, with a shelter 50 kilometers away attacked. Zhou approaches, eyes fixed on the screen. Heavy-hearted it was once his home. Could they all be dead? The announcer continues calmly, saying the attack was swift and no survivors remained when the extermination squad arrived. Zhou sighs softly, thinking that if he had stayed, he would have died too. He listens to the end, where the host emphasizes reporting any signs of the abyss immediately to the government. The insect god suddenly appears, saying not to overthink, there's no what if in this world, then cheerfully adds, he has good news. Zhou looks up, eyes bright with curiosity. The insect god reports that his fat friend who was stomped to death has revived. The Imperial Iron Guard summoning is complete, shocking Zhou. It confirms that now Xiaopang is immortal, and as long as he lives, it will endlessly revive. Zhou frowns, doubting how an immortal snake can protect anything. The insect god explains it can evolve and share vision with its master. Jiao curiously chooses full summoning. The system lights up, and Xiao Pang's image becomes clearer. Its small body appears, joyfully flying toward him, crying that it missed him. It circles Jiao, examining his face closely. Then bluntly says he looks terrible lately, just like a human. The insect god orders him to try flying with synchronized vision and to close his eyes. Jiao obeys and instantly sees through Xiao Pang's eyes as it flies toward the bathroom. Xiao Pang slips through the door crack, crawling inside. It flies up, staring at Ai Lin soaking in the water. Jiao yells in shock, calling it an idiot and telling it to back off. Xiao Pang naively replies it's just fulfilling its master's deep desire. Ai Lin immediately detects the intruder. She fires an energy thread at the creature. The thread binds it tightly, immobilizing it. Xiao Pang's body dissolves into liquid, dripping onto the floor. Outside, Jiao feels sharp pain, blood spilling from his mouth. He collapses, coughing violently, falling to the ground. The insect god coldly adds that when resonance is active, Xiao Pang's death causes backlash to him. Darkness falls. A crescent moon hangs, casting faint silver light across the sky. At dawn, Jiao sits at a roadside diner, the scent of food drifting softly in the breeze. Suddenly, a folder slams onto the table with a loud thud. Ai Lin appears, voice cold, saying this is his test result and everything's stable. Jiao opens the file, skimming a few lines. She continues firmly that he's now free. He looks up with a deep gaze. Then he pushes the folder back, getting straight to the main point. He declares he wants to join the extermination squad. Ai Lin raises an eyebrow and calmly says their death rate is very high. Jiao firmly replies that ordinary people also die easily. He pats his chest confidently, saying he's an awakened one who fought beside her and now has a clean record, asking to join the team. Ai Lin studies him closely, her gaze piercing. After a moment, she says the extermination squad selection will be held in 7 days, though he's good, but... She smiles mysteriously, saying this year is much tougher than usual. Jiao frowns, listening intently. He half jokes, half serious, asking if Deputy Leader Ai Lin plans to forget he saved her. Ai Lin stands, exuding authority. She smiles sharply, saying she likes his stubbornness and will grant him a special training chance. In a nearby building, Cory Varian secretly observes everything. Zhongji beside him quietly asks why the commander ordered him to fake Jiao gene report. Cory frowns slightly. His eyes reveal worry, sensing something inhuman in Jiao genetic data. But he doesn't explain, leaving only a short remark. Let things unfold a bit longer. The scene shifts to a training zone at the edge of a massive abyss. On the way, Jiao suddenly freezes and shouts in shock. He glares, asking angrily if her special training means throwing him straight into the abyss. Frightened and annoyed, he mutters that it's full of powerful monsters even the army can't survive, and she calls it training. He looks around, seeing only 4 teammates. Lu Dao, the only girl, agile and quick. Jia Si-ding, a man carrying a large bag. Tukai glasses wearing with sharp eyes. Song Dao with spiked hair and a wild look. Ai Lin explains clearly that the abyss is a massive pit created by giant insects during the cataclysm. She adds that each abyss connects to another world, ranked from E to S. The higher the rank, the stronger the monsters, and vaster the space. She points to the passage behind them, saying that Portal will lead the team into a scouted abyss. After introducing, Ai Lin touches the control panel and starts assigning missions. Their goal is to enter the abyss, slay monsters, and suppress the spread of the alien realm. She takes out a red magic crystal and explains defeating monsters can upgrade the team's weapons. Her fingers swipe the screen to start the program. The gate opens slightly, light pouring out. Ai Lin gives a short order that the teleport gate is ready. She assigns Jia Si-ding to lead due to his abyss experience. Jia Si-ding accepts, shouting his determination to obey orders. Within moments, everything is ready. The team steps through the gate into the training zone of the Abyss Silent Dark Forest, Level E. Beneath tall trees, trunks cluster tightly, forming a dense corridor along the path. Zhou Yi is stunned, eyes wide, realizing this is truly the abyss. Suddenly, a snake-tailed monkey darts through the branches, making him scream. He's astonished, wondering how a creature could have a snake's tail. Looking up, he spots a giant, hairy spider of unbelievable size. He glances at the tree before him, noting its thick, sturdy trunk. His eyes dart around in confusion, unsure if he's still on Earth or in another world. The rustling leaves whisper strangely in the wind, creating an eerie melody for the team. Suddenly, Jiao stops and shoots Zhou Yi a cold look. He throws his baggage toward Zhou Yi with a dry thud. Jiao scornfully orders him not to touch any monsters and just carry the bag. Though confused, Zhou Yi hugs the bag, uttering half-sarcastic praise. Inside, jealousy and anger rise as he recalls Jiao touching Ai Lin. Zhou Yi's face darkens, silently reflecting. Jiao taunts him, daring him to fight back. Instead of anger, Zhou Yi turns with a fake smile, agreeing to handle logistics and stay out of battle. Jiao is shocked at how easily he agreed, eyes wide with disbelief. Zhou Yi cheerfully runs ahead with the bag, feeling pleased and safe. Jiao grits his teeth, his eyes filled with irritation and doubt about Zhou Yi's intellect. Zhou Yi stands in the path, shouting for everyone to hand over their backpacks. He approaches Lu Dao politely, reaching out to take her bag. But she coldly refuses, insisting she'll carry her own gear. The group moves forward, leaving Zhou Yi trudging behind with the bags like an ordinary person. He proudly tells himself that not fighting helps him avoid risks and harm. But then he realizes the true power of the awakened ones as he watches them fight. Tukai leads, unleashing heaven's thunder rage, lightning splitting the sky. In moments, the whole troop of snake-tailed monkeys is wiped out. On the other side, Jiao roars, swinging his blade wildly, shouting, "Die, all of you!" His fierce strikes cut down every monster nearby. Zhou Yi hides behind bushes, wide-eyed, realizing that absorbing monster energy through crystals is how they grow stronger. Lu Dao bends to collect loot, her crystal glowing as it drains the beast's energy. Jiao keeps stabbing monsters, leveling up like in a game, the group fighting with bloodlust and no rest. After hours of slaughter, Jiao pants heavily, drenched in sweat, exhausted despite his strength. He finally exhales and laughs hoarsely, saying, 310 finally leveled up. From afar, Zhou Yi silently watches, thinking their hardship is nothing like his. He leisurely ties a napkin around his neck. Sitting before the pile of spoils, he neatly divides the monster meat. He bites a piece and eats happily, ignoring the raging battle nearby. The system's cold voice declares, trait gained, long-armed ape reach. Zhou Yi smiles smugly, realizing he can gain power just by eating without fighting. He keeps eating as the system reports, trait gained, poison resistance, venom immunity, level up. He eats more, and another message follows. Trait gained, forest adaptation. His belly bulges from fullness. Forest adaptation, level up, trait gained. Sunfire divine flame, the system echoes in his mind. After eating, Zhou Yi lies on the ground, stretching contentedly and drifting into peaceful sleep. He feels delighted, realizing he can stay in the squad just as support eating alone makes him stronger. Life is easy. The insect god appears, laughing arrogantly and praising the great roach deity. Zhou Yi raises his hand, shouting, "Long live Xiaoqiang!" The exhausted team hears his shout and stares in confusion. Song Dao frowns irritably while Lu Dao glares at him for eating while they struggle. Suddenly, the sky of the silent, dark forest tears open with a brilliant mix of purple and gold light, slicing the air like a giant blade. A massive figure crashes to the ground at terrifying speed. It's the forest beast known as Insect-Horned Beast King. Its opponent is the snake-tailed Monkey King, ruler of this area. Their roars shake the heavens, the clash distorting space itself. In a flash, the insect-horned Beast King flings the snake-tailed Monkey King high with its giant horn. The scene leaves the group frozen in terror, hearts pounding wildly. The Abyss final boss is the insect-horned Beast King, and Zhou Yi is stunned it defeated the Monkey King so easily despite being only half a level stronger. Jiao calmly tells everyone to stay calm and follow the plan to kill the boss. He wipes his sweat, recalling Ai Lin's stern warning about the medical risk policy. Those who break protocol and challenge a boss can't request medical compensation for injuries or death. Lu Dao, worried, stands behind him and shows him the map. She points to a circled spot, ordering everyone to hold their assigned positions. Jiao stays silent, then coldly walks away, wishing the team luck. Tukai and Songdao exchange mysterious smiles as he departs. Lu Dao watches in shock, realizing his position is actually a trap planned for the boss. Jiao smiles cunningly, eyes full of calculation. He stuffs explosives into the 4 bags Zhou Yi carries, ready to detonate when the boss is drawn in. The plan is to blast the boss for damage, then attack, sacrificing one useless person as the price. Lu Dao furiously objects, calling the act too cruel. Instantly, she freezes as Jia Ding's blade touches her throat, forcing Tu Kai and Songdao to intervene. Jia Ding coldly warns her to remember discipline and crush her arrogance. In the safe zone, Zhou Yi still rummages through monster meat unaware. He carefully cuts the meat, oblivious to the scheme unfolding. A violent explosion shakes the ground, startling him. He looks up, wondering if the fierce battle is spreading his way. He stares into the forest ahead, trying to find the source of the disturbance. The atmosphere shifts as everyone senses something imminent. Then suddenly, swarms of creatures rush past at incredible speed, forcing him to cover his face from the dust. He tracks their direction and sees them fleeing into the distance. Moments later, an enormous force surges through, snapping massive trees apart. Zhou Yi whirls around, eyes wide in shock at the sight. Before him, the insect-horned Beast King charges like a raging storm. Its horn pierces through his body, blood gushing like a fountain. His eyes roll white as he reels from the sudden strike. The monster doesn't relent, dragging him through the forest like a toy. It hurls him into a giant boulder, shaking the entire forest. Gasping, Zhou Yi weakly asks about the boss's sudden appearance. Hez stunned, wondering why the boss is here. Xiao Chang appears anxiously, examining his wound and commanding an emergency purge to save him. From afar, a flaming arrow streaks in, signaling new danger. He lands right beside the fallen explosives from his bag. Zhou Yi freezes, eyes widening before instinctively triggering fire. He suddenly recalls the bags contain bombs planted by his teammates. Within a heartbeat, everything explodes violently. In agony, he dimly realizes he's been betrayed again. The blast shakes the ground, debris scattering everywhere. Jia and the group watch the explosion, laughing gleefully. He mocks the doomed man's final face and orders the team to attack once the blast clears. Lu Dao cries out in panic, pointing toward the abyss. Her trembling voice urges the captain to look. Jia glances over, stunned as the smoke clears. A figure emerges amid the ruins. 8:35, it's Zhou Yi, still alive. Not only that, but he radiates overwhelming fury. Jia frowns in disbelief that he's still standing. Zhou Yi strains, pushing the horn out of his body. He roars and yanks it free. The wound closes at an astonishing speed. He shouts angrily, challenging those who dared underestimate him. He grabs the beast and lifts it with terrifying strength. Jia, standing nearby, trembles in fear. Zhou Yi swings his arm and hurls the monster violently. The creature is flung high into the air. Zhou Yi roars, demanding why they treated him as an enemy. They tried to kill him the moment they met. The system announces Skill Serpent Ape Long Reach activating, boosting his lifting power tenfold. Though trembling, Zhou Yi forces the horn away, triggering forest adaptation ability. He lifts the beast again as the system enhances his strength further under daylight. Jia scowls in frustration at the sight. Zhou Yi throws the insect-horned beast flying toward the enemy group. The creature crashes into them, rocks and dirt erupting violently. Jia barely reacts in time, raising his arm to block. Songdao is pinned under the monster, panicking and screaming for help. He cries out to Xiao Cao to save him. Others nearby shout Songdao's name. But Jia coldly refuses to rescue him, ordering focus on killing the boss. Songdao pleads in terror as the blade points toward him. Jia Siding remains indifferent, showing no mercy. Songdao screams in unbearable pain. In seconds, he's crushed brutally by the monster. The insect-horned beast's eyes blaze blood red. It rises and roars in furious rage. Jiao Siding commands an immediate counterattack. Tukai charges forward, his fists erupting in fierce flames. His attack forms a fiery vortex rushing toward the beast. His staff glows, unleashing brilliant lightning. The electric surge makes the monster shriek in agony. Its roar echoes across the battlefield. Jiao Siding reassures the group, confident the beast is weakening. He arrogantly thinks the boss is overrated, tossed by a weakling. What's there to fear? He shouts and lunges forward, slashing hard. Suddenly, the insect-horned beast absorbs surrounding energy. Its body emits deadly electromagnetic waves. Jiao Siding pales at the sight. Electric arcs gather on its sharp horn. Lu Dao realizes it in time, shouting for everyone to stop using elemental attacks. She stumbles back in panic, trembling as the beast grows stronger with every strike. Jiao Siding turns pale, realizing they can't win. The group slowly understands the horrifying truth. Jiao Siding suddenly strikes Tukai in the neck. Tukai collapses instantly. He weakly calls out to the captain, then falls unconscious. Lu Dao stares in shock at Jiao Siding, unable to ask why. He punches her hard in the stomach. She falls, groaning in pain, unable to resist. Jiao Siding reveals his treacherous nature, mocking his comrades before fleeing. The monster glares down at the two motionless bodies and roars. It raises its foot to stomp, first targeting Tukai, then Lu Dao. But at that moment, Zhou Yi appears, rushing in to save her from danger. Lu Dao weakly asks why he only saved her. Zhou Yi answers coldly and firmly, because she's the only one who never bullied him or gave him heavy work. Memories flood back. He was once despised for weakness. He had been used, oppressed repeatedly. Even without hatred, he was betrayed, learning only the strong control fate. So he vowed to become powerful. Jiao Siding, injured and desperate, begs Zhou Yi for help. Has pinned by the beast, pleading humbly. But Zhou Yi stares coldly, devoid of pity. He repeats Jiao Siding's own words, "The weak don't deserve to be saved." Jiao Siding glares in rage, about to speak. But the monster strikes and ends him instantly. Zhou Yi calmly lifts Lu Dao as the system announces pollen hypnosis activated. He sprinkles powder over her body. She drifts into a deep sleep. He tells himself to hide the monster powers within for now, then turns to face the forest insect-horned beast. Zhou Yi smirks, declaring only two remain for the final duel. He feels no fear but excitement, viewing his foe as a catalyst for strength, repeating the line with defiant eyes. The monster roars and charges straight at him. Zhou Yi shoots his tongue to hook a branch, activating the tongue launch ability. That lets him swing high into the air, dodging the deadly strike. While suspended, he calculates his absorbed traits and prepares to attack. The system announces Dao Tang Rang mode activated, turning his hand into mantis blades to slice prey. His hand becomes sharp as he leaps to attack. He drives deep into the beast's skin, but it doesn't budge at all. He grits his teeth, realizing its hide is too tough even when enhanced. A flash of inspiration strikes Zhou Yi. He swiftly lands, moving decisively. Noticing the belly's weakness, he prepares a counterattack. He dashes sideways and slashes at the beast's lower body. Blood spurts out, a roar echoing through the forest. Zhou Yi smirks, seeing his tactic works. But before celebrating, he senses killing intent behind him. The monster turns rapidly. It slams hard into his body, throwing Zhou Yi into the air. Then he crashes into a rock wall. He coughs, blood spilling from his mouth. His eyes sharpen, realizing the giant beast is terrifyingly agile. It gathers electricity around its sharp horn, then charges at lightning speed. Zhou Yi panics, knowing he can't dodge. A massive explosion erupts violently. Dazzling light floods the forest. When the smoke clears, trees around are shattered in rows. The monster stands stunned. While Zhou Yi has transformed into a tree demon, system announces tree demon skin-activated wood resists electricity but fears fire. His eyes gleam, grasping the rule of elemental counter. Even shielded, he knows he needs a finishing blow. Staring at the beast, he devises a perfect plan. System reactivates Jiao arm extension. His arm stretches to grab a nearby sword. His face turns cold, ready to decide life or death. He stomps hard as tree vine binding activates. Vines burst out wildly across the area. They rush to coil around the beast, binding its body, shaking the entire forest. The beast struggles violently to break free. Chu-Yi leaps high, golden eyes flashing, striking with full force. The sword slices through the air with destructive might. But the beast exerts all strength, tearing the vines apart. Chu-Yi is shocked, knowing he can't dodge the counterattack. System triggers emergency elastic muscle boost, unleashing explosive power. The two collide in a thunderous crash. Chu-Yi's sword shatters against the giant horn. He retreats, holding a defensive stance. Seeing the broken sword, he laughs disdainfully, then coldly tosses it aside, grabbing a large piece of wood. He stands tall, eyes full of confidence, facing the roaring beast charging at him. He smiles, declaring victory since he holds the counter-element. After speaking, he swallows the wooden chunk whole. System chimes, forest-horned beast armor activated, tough armor gleams over him. The two clash again, exchanging relentless blows. Heavy breaths echo amid the devastated battlefield. Trees collapse, dirt and rocks flying, chaos resounding everywhere. Chu-Yi's whole body is covered in blood, but his will still burns, refusing to yield. After the deadly battle, he sits atop the beast's corpse, laughing like the ultimate victor. Behind him, a black hole opens, with a mysterious key glowing beside it. System announces Secret Realm Key allows entry into a hidden space for a limited time. He wonders curiously what the secret realm truly is. Scene shifts. An ambulance speeds through the street, shouts, 3 dead, 1 critically hurt, 1 light. Hurry to the hospital. At the scene, a policeman grabs Chu-Yi by the collar. He shouts tensely, what exactly happened in the abyss? Why are you the only survivor? Chu-Yi is confused, mind in chaos, unsure to tell truth or lie. Then someone steps forward, patting the officer's shoulder. Korean says coldly, are you doubting the man our vice captain recommended? Chu-Yi pretends ignorance, secretly analyzing the situation. Maybe they think he caused the tragedy. The officer quickly denies it, saying suspicion rose because victims were soldiers. Korean gives Chu-Yi a meaningful glance, then pats the officer, smirking. Every dungeon has casualties. Don't blame without cause. He turns to Chu-Yi. You don't need to stay here. Chu-Yi stays silent, nodding without a word. After a while, he sits alone on the rooftop. Arms crossed, he ponders, feeling Korean is deliberately protecting him. He looks at his hand, shaking his head to dismiss doubts. Now the most important thing is that secret realm key. The insect god appears, voice hoarse, explaining that a secret realm is a hidden space deep within the abyss, openable only with the key. It continues, saying it's beyond normal human reach. Since Chu-Yi's power matches a monster's, the system treated his boss battle as a fight for dominion, rewarding the key. Chu-Yi realizes and mutters that the secret realm is a personal dungeon, the only path to evolve further. The insect god confirms, but warns the realm's creatures far exceed others of the same rank, and the key connects to Beast Yunjue. It adds that this being, like the former mushroom monster, holds the deepest secrets of the abyss. Chu-Yi looks up, frowning, asking about the countdown display. The insect god explains that if unused within 24 hours, the key will vanish, then asks if hell enter. Chu-Yi stares at the key, thoughtful amid its flickering light. Then he stands firmly, declaring hell go, but first has unfinished business. He smiles faintly, telling the insect god he must finish it even if it kills him. The scene shifts. Chu-Yi kneels before Ailin, sincerely saying, "Go out with me." Ailin scowls, furious, kicking him square in the mouth. She shouts, "You dare tease me?" Then raises her fist, snarling, "Say that again." But Chu-Yi keeps serious, repeating his confession. Ailin coldly punches him in the face. A brutal hit splatters blood everywhere. Chu-Yi staggers and falls. Her hand stained with blood, she yells, "Say it again!" Bruised and bleeding, Chuyi still declares firmly, even 10,000 times he'll still ask to date you. Aylin watches silently, her eyes softening. She sees in his gaze the resolve of a warrior heading to battle. Suddenly she laughs brightly, her smile glowing under the sunset. Then she nods slightly, eyes tinged with admiration. All right, I agree. At a cafe, Chuyi happily shares a straw with her. They smile gently, eyes meeting with warmth. They watch a movie together. Chuyi clings to her arm in fear during a horror scene. Afterward, they take commemorative photos. Happy smiles spread across their faces. As dusk falls, they ride bikes down an empty road, wind in their hair, ending Chuyi's first date. He cheerfully says, I planned this for 20 years, a perfect scene. With someone to finish it with me, I can die without regret. Aylin quietly observes him. Then she stops the bike. With a somber tone, she says she's seen countless comrades die, but nothing is more precious than living on. She looks at him firmly, no matter what you've faced, never treat death as escape. Under the red sunset, her words empower him only by living can he truly change fate. Chuyi is stunned. He stops his bike. He looks at her for a long time. His reflection in the calm lake shimmers with thought. He murmurs, thank you. I hope next time I'll still have the courage to ask you out. As night descends, the insect god appears, tone mixed with awe and admiration. Didn't expect your wish was just a date. Chuyi lifts the key in his hand, but it suddenly shatters before their eyes. The sky trembles violently. A spatial gate opens. Chuyi gazes silently, ready for a new trial. He steps forward calmly, saying, maybe you won't understand. But this is the end of my old life. Chuyi crosses the line of light. His figure fades into nothingness. The space gate closes, leaving absolute silence. It leads straight to the secret realm of Dark Wisdom Forest. Chuyi frowns, scanning the eerie, dense, ghostly forest. Ahead, a giant serpent-tailed ape roars with terrifying might. He thinks, if it were the old me, it'd have run, then the system announces Horned Beast Charge activated. Chuyi transforms and charges forward, launching a fierce counterattack. Blades from his arm slash deep into the beast's arm. He leaps up, shouting, Die! But suddenly, another serpent-tailed ape appears, startling him. It grabs his leg, then hurls him toward a massive tree. Chuyi crashes into it, crying out in pain. 3 serpent-tailed apes rush in to surround him. One grabs his body, tears his torso apart with brutal force. The upper half of his body flies onto a high branch. Blood drips down, staining the forest leaves red. Gasping, he laughs maniacally. Ha! 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 The system chimes, pollen hypnosis activated. Below, the monsters roar, still hunting wildly. Chuyi's body begins regenerating bit by bit. Then the system announces immortality activated. Amid agony, he thinks, these apes are weaker than the horned beast, but too many. Without the cockroach trait, it'd be dead. Fighting head-on is suicide. A spark of an idea flashes in his mind, his eyes turning sharp. If there are apes, there must be their natural predator. He struggles to stand as the hypnosis effect fades, making the apes notice him. He instantly leaps, planning to lure them into the predator's nest. System reports frog jump activated. Chuyi moves nimbly across treetops, dodging while leading them on. The apes roar behind him, their cries echoing chillingly. He keeps leaping across thick branches, but one suddenly grabs his leg. It grips tightly, baring teeth in mockery. Chuyi stays calm, excreting slippery mucus that makes it lose grip. System announces corrosive slime active. His eyes gleam as he spots an escape. Ahead lies a massive spider web spanning the forest. System reports, giant guardian beast spider defense type. Chuyi immediately transforms, dashing toward the spiders. System further activates white-tailed rooster wings. Seeing him rush in, the spiders panic and retreat. Chuyi lands right atop them. He thinks, if I pose as their predator, they won't attack. Luckily, my absorbed traits finally pay off. Suddenly, a loud noise erupts behind him. 3 serpent-tailed apes are trapped in webs, screaming in despair. Hundreds of spiders descend, covering the apes completely. Chuyi hisses, clenching his jaw. He bites down hard with all his strength. His fangs sink deep into the ape's flesh. They scream in pain, their bodies shredded. Chu-Yi watches the snake-tailed apes bound on the forest floor. He deduces the apes are suppressed by their natural enemies. But spiders usually hunt by trapping isolated prey. A sudden sound from behind makes him whirl around. A horde of snake-tailed apes go berserk, charging into the spider domain. The spiders shriek, baring fangs and claws in fury. The two sides clash brutally, blood soaking the dark woods. Chu-Yi smirks, eyes gleaming. The chaos is exactly what he wanted. System chimes, insect scythe mode activated. He dives from above, arms turning into scythes, to slaughter monsters. One serpent-tailed ape falls under his strike. Blood splatters, screams echo through the forest. Chu-Yi calmly dashes through, isolating targets to prolong the fight. Amid the carnage, he bites a snake ape's arm. He chews the raw flesh violently. He expects to absorb its power, but his body tingles strangely. He mutters softly, wondering why eating it yields no effect. The insect god appears, scolding him, "Power isn't that easy. To gain strength, you must eat the right part. Only by consuming the correct spot can you gain traits." On the ape's arm lies a distinct biceps mark. Chu-Yi realizes and bites deep into its upper arm. Crunching sounds echo as the system responds immediately. Gaining a new trait and endurance boost, he scans the battlefield. He plans in his mind to use the chaos to grow stronger. The system activates a new power chain. Poison spreads, toxin resistance initiates. His arms grow tougher and longer, traits upgraded. Chu-Yi, drenched in blood, stands amid corpses, face cold as steel. He flashes through the monsters like a streak of blue lightning. Electric light flares as he smiles, seeing the flaming gate ahead. The insect god softly says this is the secret realm leader's domain. Chu-Yi feels the terrifying aura. A dark shadow stirs. He notices burning skeletons piled nearby. Atop them glows a radiant jewel. He reaches out to take the gem. He asks. The insect god replies, "It's the secret realm treasure, a rare demon crystal." The orange gem burns like a small flame containing immense ancient energy. The insect god warns, either absorb all its power or use half to open a safe exit. Chu-Yi stares at the gem torn inside. He hesitates between safety and risk. His gaze hardens. This is his only chance to evolve. He strides firmly into the smoky abyss. No boss in sight, so why fear? Heat scorches him. Flames engulf the world like hell. He faces a lord-level monster with system alert of extreme danger. From afar, its aura makes Chu-Yi shiver. This is the final boss. The creature, regal in form, accuses humanity of slaughtering its kind. Chu-Yi recalls a speaking beast before, suspecting monsters have societies like humans. Before he can think, the creature raises its weapon. It charges like a storm, its speed terrifying. Dust explodes. Chu-Yi barely dodges, drenched in sweat, heart pounding. The beast mutters incomprehensibly. Its deep, haunting voice echoes. It questions how a human entered an unlinked world. Chu-Yi is shocked, realizing it means the connection between two realms. The monster stays silent, then coldly vows to make him confess. Its eyes blaze as it readies to strike. A fierce gust pierces through Chu-Yi's body. The impact makes blood burst from his mouth. He has thrown hard, smashing into a nearby boulder. Agony surges through every nerve. A gaping hole tears open in his abdomen. System activates immortal regeneration to heal the wound. The beast watches in fascination. It compares his recovery speed to its own, intrigued. It declares it will dissect him for study. Each blow it lands carries crushing power, shaking heaven and earth. System enables enhanced vision. Chu-Yi's eyes blaze, tracking every move. Though the monster is immensely strong, he detects its attack pattern is too simple. Chu-Yi darts like a phantom, fully focused on the giant foe. His mind races through tactical calculations. He closes in, preparing a finishing strike. System activates corrosive fist. His punch, coated in venom, drives forward with full force. Amid the blazing red inferno, the beast towers, its cold eyes locking on the target. It roars, declaring it will burn everything, then accelerates to the limit. The beast's strike is so fast it leaves only a blur of light. Thanks to his enhanced gauntlets, Chu-Yi blocks the lethal blow in time. He activates a system-privileged forest beast armor glows, restoring and shielding powerfully. The beast roars in confusion, growing even fiercer. Chu-Yi is forced to retreat repeatedly, dodging by a hair's breadth. The insect god warns anxiously the armor is melting, urging retreat. But Chu-Yi's gaze remains firm. He refuses to accept defeat. As the ground shakes from the spear thrust, he seizes the moment to strike from behind. System signals, skill activation, the giant ape's fist readies for impact. However, the horned beast warrior seems to foresee his move. It spins its weapon in a whirlwind, blocking Chu-Yi's approach. In an instant, Chu-Yi is flung away, falling hard like a leaf in a storm. The scorched ground erupts, flames raging to consume all. The beast decides to crush its foe with full might. Its face returns to a steel-cold calm, emotionless. Flames in its hand form a blazing sword, striking at Chu-Yi. Cornered, he panics to react. He leaps high to evade the fiery stream. But the fire, as if alive, chases like a flying serpent. Chu-Yi desperately activates Frog Jump, but realizes it's useless. He grits his teeth, screaming in despair, unable to dodge. System warns, immortal power activated, but damage too severe to recover. Chu-Yi panics, realizing even resurrection fails, cursing his fate. The horned beast warrior howls, vowing to burn the human to ash. Yet within the flames, Chu-Yi still stands, eyes unwavering. He shouts fiercely, ready to die with his foe. System enhances his arms, channeling energy from the ancient spear beast. Chu-Yi ignites like a meteor, crashing into a red planet, unleashing full power. In his mind remains one thought. The one to fall must be him. The spear pierces straight through the enemy's head, flashing with blinding light. But the monster's hide only cracks slightly, barely harmed. It stands rigid, unaware of pain like a living statue. Chu-Yi freezes for a moment, horrified by the bitter failure. The beast gathers the fire in its hands, then hurls it all at him like a storm of annihilation. Has engulfed in flames, screaming in agony. Chu-Yi's body is swallowed completely by the fire. Exhausted, he can't struggle free. The insect god watches, heart heavy, realizing this foe is beyond his power. It hastily uses the great gem to force open an escape portal for Chu-Yi. But Chu-Yi throws the gem away, rejecting retreat. The gem flies off and shatters into pieces. The insect god rages, unable to comprehend why he chooses death mid-battle. Chu-Yi murmurs that he's ready to accept this ending. It falls silent, stunned by his reckless resolve. From the shattered spot, red energy surges upward violently. That current of power wraps around Chu-Yi's entire body. His skin turns a radiant golden hue. The horned beast warrior freezes in shock. He staggers, bewildered by the immense power emanating from Chu-Yi. The system acknowledges Chu-Yi's courage, declaring he has passed the insect god's second trial. The space around him glows like the heart of a sun. Staring at his transforming body, Chu-Yi feels confused, heart pounding. The rising energy overwhelms him until the insect god explains it's a battle form, a fusion of all traits. Confidence rekindled, he's ready to face the beast again. The foe has only one move, the magma torrent. But that strike is so strong it makes the world explode, smoke blanketing everything. That sight only fuels Chu-Yi's fighting spirit further. His battle form armor, a blend of many biological traits, evolves with newfound strength. He realizes the armor is highly effective, the fierce blows leave only scratches. The horned beast warrior remains arrogant, convinced his torrent will finish the fight. He fails to notice the strange swirling smoke above him. When he senses danger, his eyes widen in alarm. The system channels all power to Chu-Yi, activating long-armed ape muscle link, unleashing massive strength for counterattack. The insect god patiently guides him to master activating multiple traits simultaneously without cooldown. Exhausted yet burning with faith, he believes his combo strike will leave no time for the enemy to react. In battle form, his power, speed, and stamina increase tenfold, a thrillful smile spreading on his face. The horned beast warrior stands frozen, stunned by this miraculous transformation. Hez shocked to see Chuyi completely unscathed. Roaring in rage, he charges, unable to believe his eyes. Chuyi narrows his gaze, cold and focused, shaping his counterstrike. He triggers a combo of traits, accelerated vision, elastic muscles, and mantis scythes all at once. The horned beast warrior can't react, struck by a barrage of relentless blows, crying out in panic. Chuyi calmly lifts his leg, stance firm as a mountain. Hez channeling strength for a fatal kick. His arms extend like whips, ready for the final strike. His 5 fingers turn into tendrils, binding the enemy's limbs tightly. With a small movement of his hand, a crushing force slams the horned beast warrior to the ground. He props himself up weakly, barely moving. Rage surges as he roars a curse. The battle continues, neither side yielding. The horned beast warrior collapses, weapon flung aside, eyes filled with confusion at Chuyi. He hesitates briefly, then glances back at the spear stuck behind him, a reckless idea flashing. Hand trembling, he reaches for it, swearing to risk the world's entire balance. He vows to regain full power, slamming the spear down as magma erupts violently. Chuyi freezes, unsure what he's attempting. The energy core rose where he fell, causing a violent shockwave. The temperature spiked and flames spread across the space. He arrogantly declared that Chuyi missed his only chance, surrounded by raging fire. But Chuyi stayed calm, forming a solid defense stance. His eyes glowed, showing complex circles like an analysis mechanism. He scanned the enemy's body, seeing glowing weak points just as the insect god said the brighter, the stronger. Chuyi lowered his stance, his aura bursting like a fully revved engine. He dashed forward, leaving only a trail of dust. The rhinoceros beastman staggered, terrified after losing sight of his foe, muttering in panic. At that instant, a kick flashed past his face like lightning. Chuyi unleashed a spinning strike, hurling the enemy into a cliff, exploding the area into debris. He crawled up in despair, arrogance completely gone. Facing Chuyi's power, he trembled and muttered, "Monster! He's a real monster!" Chuyi laughed proudly, boasting he was a handsome, long-legged monster, combining frog jump and mantis slash perfectly. He bent down and picked up a small stone from the ruins. Calmly put it in his mouth, crunching it as if mocking his foe. The rhinoceros beastman suddenly roared, claiming his full power had returned. He crouched, muscles swelling, summoning blazing fire within his chest. He roared, "Heaven melt flame will burn you to ash, I will win." A vortex of magma rushed toward Chuyi, glowing bright red. He stayed calm, raised his hand slightly, body shining brilliantly. The fire seemed to engulf him completely. But it was repelled, vanishing without a trace. The rhinoceros beastman screamed in disbelief at the sight. Chuyi gripped his spear, standing like a war god, smirking. "Ever wondered what your horn tastes like with black pepper?" His grin turned mad. "It's delicious, so why cry?" The rhinoceros beastman only trembled, eyes dim, speechless. The giant collapsed to the ground, moaning miserably, wishing to go home. Chuyi calmly pointed his spear at him, coldly asked, "Can you withstand your own move?" At that moment, the system announced a trait upgrade. Sharp Horn evolved into Rhinoceros Beastman Horn. With flame fusion skill added, the bone spear could summon fire in battle. Chuyi immediately activated Heavenly Melt Flame Spiral, seizing control of the enemy's fire. The Rhinoceros Beastman screamed in despair, retreating in utter terror. Chuyi didn't hesitate, slashing down his spear, ending him cleanly like slicing wind. For the first and last time, he felt his own primal power. Before dying, his roar echoed with despair. The greedy fire devoured his flesh, making him scream in agony. In moments, his whole body turned to ash. He vanished in the wind filled with dust and battlefield blood. Chuyi stood alone amid the chaos, surrounded by thick smoke. A transparent orb glowed like amber, containing a small beastman's soul. Ni stared at it, speechless at the battle's end. The insect god calmly said it was a rare Lord Beast stone seal that could unlock transformation. Chuni froze, thinking of Xiao Pang and its unique ability. He reached out, light flashing on his sharp claws as he touched the shining seal. The item shattered. The system showed Xiao Pang gaining Beastman power and a summon prompt. Chuni's heart raced as he firmly answered, yes. Xiao Pang bounced up like a spring shooting out of the light. Its body rapidly expanded, muscles and horns surging with might. With a boom, the massive form landed, gazing proudly at Ni. It blinked in surprise, asking why he looked so tiny now, big bro. Ni exclaimed excitedly, unable to believe what he saw. Xiao Pang knelt respectfully, body rippling with muscles and hard spikes. The system displayed an image of a beastman with ancient savage style, with a note that the transformation rank reached Guardian Lord level. Xiao Pang stared at himself, confused why he looked so ugly. The insect god explained it was only the first stage. Power would grow with stronger conquests. Suddenly, cracking sounds rang out as a stone pillar collapsed violently. Before the massive boulder, the group seemed as small as beetles. Xiao Pang turned to defend, readying a 1,000-pound punch. With one hand, he caught the stone easily, symbol of unmatched strength. He tossed it aside lightly. Emotion surged through the dusty air. Xiao Pang sadly admitted his huge body made him clumsy, pleading not to be mocked, making everyone laugh. Chuni flicked his head, the sound sharp and clear. The bump still visible, Xiao Pang drooped as Ni patted his shoulder, telling him to prove himself, not play tough. From his three-fingered hand, Xiao Pang summoned a jet-black spear radiating cold aura. He gripped the shaft tightly, pointing the tip forward. His body shot out swiftly like a spinning gale. The ground echoed with falling debris. Chuni stayed calm, raising his left hand to block the thunderous strike. A huge explosion burst forth like molten lava, hiding Chuni's figure. Xiao Pang covered his face, then emerged from the smoky blaze as if forged in hell. Ni marveled, praising that the blow was stronger than the last boss's fire attack. The insect god appeared proudly, explaining Xiao Pang was using full Lord Domain power. Chuni gave a firm command to withdraw. Xiao Pang vanished instantly. He smiled in satisfaction, praising his upgraded strength and blazing flame fusion. He thought this was his trump card to turn any battle around. Ni reflected on the path ahead, believing he was ready for the selection round. The fighting flame in him burned with faith and energy like the scorched land around. He resolved to overcome any trial, his sole goal to join the extermination squad. 3 days later, a peaceful scene unfolded with the grand arena rising amid green mountains. Firm footsteps echoed along the path into the valley. Chuni strode proudly into the bustling crowd. He lifted his head, breathing in the vibrant atmosphere around him. From the stands, cheers roared like crashing waves. Ni was surprised the arena was packed, yet no one sat down. He swept his gaze around. The Extermination Squad selection tournament was the biggest event in Minghai City. On the high platform, the general commander and Ai Lin watched closely, while Chuni felt his heartbeat racing amid the fierce power struggle. Ai Lin coldly announced that the 4 major Minghai clans had sent contestants, and the winner would hold the council chair for 4 years. Chuni's eyes grew serious upon hearing that. He glanced at a group in black cloaks passing swiftly like wind. Ai Lin sharply introduced the blindfolded one as Bai Haoyu of the Bai clan. The Bai clan controlled the entire intelligence network. Haoyu's subordinates were elite agents wearing golden-hoofed boots. The screen shifted to a man with a long scar by his eye. Ai Lin identified him as the Army's representative Tony Olaf. Olaf was seen as the top contender. The Army aimed to seize control of the extermination squad and all Minghai's armed power. The disciplined soldiers radiated authority as Tony walked toward Haoyu with a disdainful look. Haoyu bowed slightly, his gaze loyal. The Bai clan still sided with Olaf. The stands erupted when Saintess Karen of the Psychic Church appeared. The platinum-haired girl stepped out gracefully yet coldly, followed by a group draped in ashen robes. Her icy eyes swept forward, revealing no emotion. Ai Lin explained that Karen's ability was mental control, so her followers wore blindfolds to resist it. Chuni watched intently, murmuring, "These people seem off." Eileen added that the church remained useful maintaining order in remote zones and aiding psychic research. Tony and Hao-yu watched the church group warily. Hao-yu murmured, surprised that the saintess joined the contest herself. Tony sneered, saying their real target wasn't the church, but someone else. He jerked his chin toward 3 white-robed figures nearby. Eileen continued. The student with glasses in uniform was Zhong Tai, representing the Zhong clan, wielding large mechanical gauntlets. Zhong Tai looked around, eyes showing slight unease. Tony smirked mockingly, mocking the Zhong clan for sending such a mediocre fighter. Tony taunted further, saying if Zhong Tai withdrew early, the Zhong clan could still save face in the council. Zhong Tai, though small, stood firm and replied he'd rather be eliminated than bow to the army. Tony's face darkened, his voice coldly threatening that soon Ming Hai would have only 3 great clans left. Chu Ni observed that tensions between factions had reached their peak. Eileen secretly transmitted orders, reminding that the Zhong clan was allied with the extermination squad, though Zhong Tai's combat power was the weakest of the 4. The army's goal was to seize the Zhong clan's council seat, so the general commander expected Chu Ni to rank high to protect their standing. Varian stood firm, eyes full of trust. Chu Ni replied firmly, "I'll give it everything I've got." Eileen removed the comm device, ending the transmission. She looked at Varian, bluntly asking if he truly trusted Chu Ni that much. She pondered that if the army ruled the council, the extermination squad would be in trouble. Varian calmly answered that Chu Ni's rescue of Lu Dao and survival from the abyss had already proven his ability. In the arena, fireworks exploded brilliantly, lighting up the sky. Thunderous cheers erupted as the crowd went wild. The atmosphere blazed like a festival of fire and blood. The ground shook as massive roots rose, lifting a giant lotus bud. The petals opened, revealing a girl at its center. She smiled brightly, sucking candy as she introduced herself as Hallie Kamen, captain of Squad 10 and judge of the first round. She pointed behind her, announcing the first test, Extreme Climb. Behind her was a slope of 100 stone steps, reaching the 10th step met the standard. Before the entire arena, she sternly declared that 2/3 of the contestants would die on this path. Her smile turned cold, a cruel glint behind her soft tone. The crowd froze, then panicked upon hearing the word die. Murmurs spread through the arena as shock filled the air. The contestants gasped, repeating, "Die? For real?" Holly smiled calmly, assuring that the extermination squad would try to keep them safe, but each must protect themselves. Holly raised her hand and shouted like thunder, officially starting the first round. As her command ended, the atmosphere erupted instantly. The contestants stared at one another, confused about what was coming. One arrogant man shouted loudly in disdain. He sneered that climbing a mountain was nothing to fear. Then he leapt forward first, dragging others along. The crowd surged after him, full of reckless zeal. From afar, several cold gazes watched them like a joke. Tony Olaf smirked, cursing the fools unaware of their coming deaths. The leading man glanced back arrogantly, challenging the 4 clans and declaring he'd take first place in round 1. But the moment he stepped on the first stair, a purple beam suddenly shot into the sky. He froze, eyes dulling. The space around was covered in a mysterious purple glow that chilled the soul. The arrogant man stammered, asking what the hell this place was. Then he lost consciousness, his eyes turning blank. One by one, those behind him fell into the same state. Chuni saw this and wondered why everyone had turned motionless. Hallie kept her calm smile, saying the test wasn't just climbing the stone steps were made from a demon king's bones. She pointed toward the summit, explaining it was the remnant of a monster that once terrified humanity. Whoever touched it would be drawn into its illusion. The screams of contestants echoed across the dreamlike realm. One terrified man screamed, denying reality. Hollis' eyes turned cold, warning that anyone who failed to break the illusion would die instantly. Her words cut through the air like blades. She raised her hand, light spreading as a healing spell saved a few dying contestants. Then she coldly declared them eliminated from the competition. Chuni stood frozen, wondering if everyone was truly doomed. Island transmitted, explaining each illusion had its own goal: survive the time, break the barrier, or slay the beast, and Chuni must decide alone with no outside contact. Chuni stared at the stone steps, his heart heavy before the coming trial. On the other side, Tony ordered his squad with a steel voice. They must take first place, no defeat allowed. His men shouted in unison. Tony stepped onto the first stair. His brows tightened, eyes flashing with resolve. A blazing sea of red fire erupted before him. On the flames appeared glowing words: 5 hours. The fire swirled, forming a burning cage. From within emerged a giant beast facing him. Tony smirked confidently, realizing this illusion tested his own fire element power. He calmly analyzed the foe, his mind working like a cold machine. He concluded that surviving 5 minutes would clear the test. He firmly ordered execution of Backup Plan 1. His subordinates replied, "Understood." Each cast water magic, torrents surging toward the fiery monster. The raging water engulfed the blazing form. Tony smirked. With one motion, the steam froze into sharp ice spears piercing the enemy's body. The massive flame was extinguished, leaving only drifting gray smoke. Tony and his team advanced boldly, aura surging like rising tides. On the stands, Corey Varian praised their near-perfect coordination and asked Ai-Lin about Tony's formation. Seeing him remain calm, Ai-Lin frowned slightly, murmuring why the commander was still so composed. Varian sensed her thoughts, smiled reassuringly, saying the decisive moment hadn't come yet. Ai-Lin blushed and answered quickly. He looked down, explaining the first 10 steps only eliminated the weak, no threat to true warriors. He glanced at the fallen, voice deep, saying the higher they climbed, the crueler the illusions. Even soldiers would tire, and only individuals would decide victory. To reach the peak, one must unleash full power, break all limits, or... He looked at Chuni, eyes deep with hope, wishing he could stay calm amid chaos. The crowd grew noisy, mocking that he still hadn't moved from the start. Chuni closed his eyes, steadying his breath to regain focus. When he opened them, his gaze was sharp and cold, free of hesitation. He stepped forward, telling himself it was time to act. But as he set foot down, a strange sensation swept through, throwing his body off balance. He slipped, falling from the edge of the deep stone cliff. As he fell, Nee noticed the cliff's walls were smooth as mirrors, impossible to grasp. He instantly summoned his weapon. The spear tip pierced the cliff wall, halting his fall. Nee balanced on the spear handle, ready to fight. Suddenly, he sensed a powerful force rushing from behind. Turning, he saw a winged beast diving to attack. He quickly assessed the terrain was bad, and the creature had the aerial advantage, a deadly situation. Nee opened his system panel. He activated an attack skill, fusing tail poison with adhesive blade strike. He looked up, eyes blazing with confidence. With his current strength, he swung the spear hard, slashing straight at the massive creature. Blood splattered as the monster's body snapped and fell into the abyss. The crash echoed before fading into darkness. Nee gave a faint smile, tasting the sweetness of victory. He regained his calm composure and climbed again with steady steps. Chuni's figure stood tall, unshaken like a mountain amid wind and fire. He thought that though these illusion beasts were fierce, their power matched only the weaklings from Jian Pine Forest. From Ai-Lin's words, he knew near the summit they'd turn into Guardian-class monsters, but with his power, it was no threat. His steps halted, his sharp eyes scanned cautiously. "A maze," he murmured. Frowning slightly, he readied himself. Summoning his weapon, Chuni felt chaotic energy fill the space. For the weak it was hell, but he only smiled, eyes burning with challenge. He swung his sword, and a blazing whirlwind erupted with searing heat. The maze split apart like mist being torn asunder. A straight path appeared ahead, wide and inviting the brave forward. He stood proudly, smiling with confidence, ready to advance without hesitation. Nearby, another contestant glanced at him with a mocking grin. He scoffed. Climb a few steps and act cocky? Late start just for show you think you're the main hero? Chuni didn't reply, only clenched his fists and charged upward. His figure flashed forward like a fierce wind, surpassing everyone. The contestants behind gawked, shouting in awe, calling him the boss, begging to follow. They turned toward the mocker with eyes cold as steel. The group rushed him, beating while shouting, "Who said he's pretending to be cool?" until he begged pitifully. On the stands, Corey Varian watched, eyes gleaming as he sensed the contest's pace had exceeded expectations. He spoke gravely. At this rate, he might really reach the summit. His words made Eileen freeze, heart trembling slightly. Chuni reach the summit? She recalled when he was still a clumsy rookie, eyes full of faith. Memories surged him, shouting, "I choose C! Let's take down that giant worm together!" And another time, he'd looked at her seriously. You wouldn't be that ungrateful, would you? Aylin pictured that, back resolute, decisive now, a man daring to challenge illusions even captains feared. At that moment, the loudspeaker echoed across the arena, announcing the leading contestants' results. Bai Haoyu completed his trial at Step 38. Sen Yuzuo stopped at Step 35, while the leading group held around Step 40. But the absolute frontrunner remained Tony Olaf, proud and composed as his squad neared the summit. Zhongji stood on a stair, drenched in sweat. His breath came ragged as if about to collapse. He clenched his teeth, eyes filled with sorrow for fallen comrades. He realized he'd been ambushed in a pre-planned illusion trap. The fear of failure gripped his heart. He was far from his clan's record and wondered if it would end here. A voice called out, shouting Zhongji's name. He turned to see Tony Olaf appear arrogantly, grinning wickedly, forcing him to surrender in humiliation to save his clan's honor. Tony mocked that one sacrifice from him would be enough. Deep shame made Zhongzhu burst into tears, unable to stop. Even biting his lips hard, the tears kept flowing. Strong footsteps echoed, pulling Zhongzhu from despair. Tony froze, eyes flashing in shock. A man strode forward proudly with steady steps, Chuni. Tony gasped in disbelief. Zhongzhi watched Chuni walk past with admiration. He thought that if Ming clan had known such a master existed in Ming Hai, they would have recruited him long ago. He called out earnestly for Chuni's help, his shout echoing through the illusion. Chuni calmly moved forward, telling Zhongzhi to wait behind him. From afar, Eileen was stunned that Chuni dared to advance without hesitation. Tony forced his exhausted comrades to rise, shouting that they must fight on for the Olaf family's honor. Fear of being surpassed flared within him, and he roared to break the 50-step record. His subordinates gritted their teeth, climbing with their last strength. Two companions fell from exhaustion. Tony, too, was drenched in sweat, nearly drained. Even so, he praised himself for his unmatched speed. Amid fatigue, he lifted his head, searching for Chuni's position. Chuni appeared before him, smiling brightly like morning sun. Tony froze, seeing his rival still full of strength and vitality. Without hesitation, Chuni accelerated past, laughing and teasing that second place was now his. Tony trembled with fury, grinding his teeth helplessly. Chuni stopped after leaving his opponent far behind. He turned and smirked, mocking that a real man shouldn't give up so easily. The taunt made Tony flush red, veins bulging as he roared in anger yet kept climbing bitterly. On the stands, Harley cheered as Chuni reached Step 60, still surging forward tirelessly. The announcement rang out. Step 82. Chuni kept his steady, unbroken pace. Harley shouted in excitement as Chuni reached Step 99, matching Captain Keelis' record, just one step from the peak. The crowd exploded in awe, unable to believe Chuni had broken the illusion, chanting his name. Tony Olaf's supporters despaired, lamenting total defeat, while the betting house owner stood frozen in disbelief. The old man trembled, realizing the victor was the very young man from earlier. He recalls that Chu Yi once vowed to win the championship, even at the cost of his life. Seeing Chu Yi in the lead, the betting house owner turns pale, sensing total loss. Chu Yi reaches the peak, his robe fluttering as he prepares to speak confidently. He turns sharply, eyes fierce, challenging if anyone else dares to try. Suddenly, a strange sound comes through his earpiece. On the line, Ailin scolds and mocks Chu-yi for ignoring orders to help Zhongzhu and for being arrogant. Chu-yi frowns and jokingly replies that he's still fulfilling his mission. Chu-yi lowers himself slightly, ready to move. His figure dives down like a storm, speed stunning everyone. The crowd shouts in confusion, wondering why he isn't leaving the illusion zone. Contrary to all expectations, Chu-yi charges straight toward Tony Olaf. Tony freezes, watching him flash by with a mocking remark. Hez stunned, humiliated, and furious at being ridiculed publicly. Chu-yi stops right in front of Zhongzhu. From above, he sees Zhongzhu struggling forward, drenched in sweat. Zhongzhu looks up, confused about what's happening. Without a word, Chu-yi reaches out and pulls him up forcefully. He lifts Zhongzhu onto his shoulder and leaps upward smoothly. Tony gapes, unable to believe Chu-yi dares to carry someone and still move forward. Chu-yi climbs steadily, showing no sign of fatigue. His cold gaze radiates unstoppable momentum. The surroundings blaze with fire as lava crashes down amid explosions. Chu-yi braces his legs and raises a green barrier shielding them from deadly heat. The scene shifts to a deep forest filled with giant mutated creatures lurking. He swiftly swings through, carrying Zhongzhu while striking down monsters precisely. The illusion changes into a vast sea surrounded by ferocious fish beasts. Chu-yi lets Zhongzhu hold tight, then soars upward, leaving the beasts roaring below. Zhongzhu realizes he can't even react to Chu-yi's superhuman speed, deeply admiring him. He smiles, knowing the best help is to let the senior lead the way. In moments, everything happens incredibly fast. Chu-yi lands firmly, feet steady as nails. He sets Zhongzhu down, calm and unbothered, breathing steady. Zhongzhu spots a nearby marker and shouts in joy at seeing number 50. Chu-yi replies coolly that just surpassing Tony is enough. Overwhelmed, Zhongzhu bursts into tears, speechless with emotion. He bows in gratitude, vowing to repay Chu-yi after the contest as the family's benefactor. Tony's furious roar echoes as he tries to catch up. Chu-yi hears it and glances back indifferently at Tony struggling behind. Tony, red with rage, accuses Chu-yi of ruining the Olaf family's grand plan. He climbs step by step, hissing with hatred and threats of vengeance. Tony's voice turns cold as he declares Chu-yi has nowhere left to run. Chu-yi looks back calmly, ignoring Tony as if he doesn't exist. In his mind flashes the image of the traitorous captain who once used and tried to kill him in a secret realm. Memories return of lying in a hospital bed, interrogated and beaten by police. They screamed, demanding how he survived the Abyss catastrophe. Chu-yi quietly reflects that arrogant people always create their own enemies through pride and cruelty. Snapping out of thought, he glances at Zhongzhu, startling him. Chu-yi clenches his fist and firmly asks if Zhongzhu wants a bit of help. Zhongzhu's eyes light up. He smiles, gives a thumbs up, and promises a big reward. Before the words fade, Chu-yi vanishes in a whirlwind of dust. Tony freezes, face pale. Before he reacts, Chu-yi's thunderous kick strikes him directly. The kick hits Tony's face like a storm, sending him flying with blood spraying, face twisted, screaming in pain and rage at being defied by an underdog. Tony tumbles down the steps, body battered and torn. The entire scene is captured on camera without missing a frame. In a dark room, a man on a throne watches Tony's defeat coldly, with a silent aide beside him. He stands abruptly, face burning with fury. Teeth clenched, he orders an investigation into Chu-yi's identity before dawn. The man in black beside him, Bai Jinding, head of intelligence and leader of the Bai clan, bows in acknowledgement. The one giving orders is Rozolof, city council chief and head of the Olaf family, eyes gleaming with killing intent, vowing harsh revenge. Outside, Minghai City glows with lights and bustling crowds. But an old apartment block in the shadows stands silent, a witness of time. Inside a small room, Chu-yi lounges on the sofa, relaxed and carefree. He munches snacks while recalling the contest that ended 2 days ago. The image of Tony's miserable defeat replays, once proud, now fallen to third place after being kicked off the 50th step. Next, he remembers collecting his bet as the bookmaker knelt, begging for mercy. The man trembled in gratitude for being spared by Chu Yi. Earlier, Chu Yi had wagered all his magic crystals and the gambler's organs with odds of 1 to 1,000. After winning, he calmly took the heavy gold bag and left, leaving the loser ruined. He calculates that 50 gold coins equal about 1 million in old money. Recalling Ailin's words, he realizes that sum equals her year's worth of monster hunts. Chu Yi sighs, telling himself he's earned good capital. Zhongzhu paid generously, and the Zhong heir's gift was unexpected profit. Suddenly, a loud door kick shatters the quiet of the apartment. He jerks around, eyes fixed on the door bursting open. In front of him stands Ailin, her face cold and eyes blazing with anger. She crosses her arms and walks closer as Chu Yi awkwardly stands, still holding his snack bag. Ailin scolds sternly, asking if he's crazy for leaving a luxury villa to live in this shabby place. Chu Yi smiles slightly, knowing why she came. Without replying, he points out the window, calmly saying this place is safer because it's near the Ju Mi squad base. From the window, the building where Ailin lives is clearly visible across the street. Hearing his explanation, she softens a bit but firmly reminds him money should enhance strength in chaotic times. Then she takes out a black ticket and hands it to Chu Yi. She explains it's for tonight's auction and invites him to broaden his horizons. Chu Yi takes the ticket, eyes showing doubt and curiosity. Night falls, and the city glimmers with magical lights. On a quiet street, the two walk side by side under yellow lamplight. Ailin leads ahead while Chu Yi follows, looking around with interest. A rat suddenly scurries by, making him jump and grumble about the odd auction location. Ailin remains calm, saying the goods here are banned, but valuable, it's the black market. Hearing that, Chu Yi is shocked and questions if they're really joining an illegal event. The scene shifts smoothly, space changing. They arrive at a deserted area where Ailin leads the way. She knocks a few times on the large door ahead. The heavy door creaks open slowly. Inside is a dim, mysterious space veiled in faint light. She steps in confidently and warns Chu Yi to stay close. He follows immediately, heart racing, eyes scanning around. Suddenly, another door opens from a hidden corner. A burst of bright light forces Chu Yi to shield his eyes. Once adjusted, he's stunned by the sight ahead. In front of them stands a line of people dressed in black with covered faces. All gun barrels are aimed straight at the two of them. One figure steps out from the middle, removing his hood to reveal a cold face amidst the armed circle. He keeps a black scarf over his mouth, eyes sharp as blades fixed on Ailin's invitation card. A woman with a bun approaches and hands him a verification paper. He examines every word carefully, eyes sweeping with caution. Then he nods and orders them in a deep voice to follow. The two cautiously move deeper into the secret chamber. The air is hazy, filled with murmured whispers all around. Chu Yi blurts out in surprise, not expecting such a crowd. He finds a seat, curiously scanning the surroundings. Leaning close, he quietly asks Ailin if this place is legal. She calmly answers that with the Bai clan's protection, even crime becomes lawful, ordinary people can't get in. The view shifts to the second floor. In a luxurious room belonging to the Olaf family's private sector, a hooded man bows respectfully while reporting. He tells the person with the code name H that the woman is Ailin of the Miesha squad, and her companion is Chu Yi, their target. H, representative of the Olaf family, watches closely the two figures chatting below. His lips curl into a cold smile as he murmurs, "Truly, enemies always meet again." On stage, a pair of long legs steps into the dazzling light. Buni, the host, cheerfully greets the guests to the auction of hundreds of rare treasures. She excitedly pulls open the first red curtain, her mysterious smile widening. As the drape lifts, her voice rings out introducing the first item, the perfect mermaid tail. Buni eagerly explains its rare effects, edible for body rejuvenation, starting at 1 gold coin to begin the auction. The crowd erupts with cheers, excitedly discussing the item's high value. Beside him, a golden snake hologram floats displaying data, making Chu Yi frown, puzzled why such a low-grade item draws such frenzy. Ailin scolds sharply, calling his words nonsense and mocking him as foolish. Bunny pulls another curtain, revealing clearance items at a steep discount, starting at 100 silver. A man with glasses mocks the cheap goods, while a blonde warns it might be a trap for newcomers. The golden snake hovers over Chu Yi's head, muttering about E, A, and D-grade monster corpses. Chu Yi smirks with confident amusement. He raises his hand and loudly declares, "Hell by them all," calling out Bunny's name. Bunny smiles slyly, eyes gleaming with deceit, pleased at an easy mark. Chu Yi grins inwardly, convinced he's about to score a bargain. Ailin sighs quietly, thinking he's truly foolish. Bunny unveils the next red curtain, enthusiastically introducing a rare treasure from a sea-level abyss, the Frost Lord Crystal. Ailin focuses on the stage, whispering to Chu Yi that this is what she came for. Bunny lifts the drape, revealing the radiant crystal, describing its exceptional power for ice users. She announces the starting price, 1 gold coin. Ailin falls silent as memories of an old battle resurface. The past fear and humiliation fuel her determination to help Chu Chi-shui grow stronger. She vows never to be humiliated again. Without hesitation, she raises her auction paddle. Bunny smiles brightly and announces bidder 17 has placed an offer, asking for the next bid. A hand in the distance presses a remote. A firm voice announces bidder number 1's price. Bunny excitedly declares bidder 1 offers 10 gold with minimum increases of 1. In the private room, H smirks arrogantly, knowing Ailin wants the same crystal Tony once desired. Ailin whips her gaze toward the Olaf family's private room. She realizes her opponent this time is the Olaf family, a serious threat. She raises her price again, and Bunny announces bidder 17 offers 11 gold. H growls angrily, pressing hard to raise it to 15 gold. Ailin doesn't flinch, lifting her paddle to 20 gold. Bidder 1 instantly counters with 25 gold. The crowd buzzes, saying bidder 17 is reckless. Someone whispers she's from the Misha squad. Chu Yi glances at Ailin, worried by how the odds turn against her. In the VIP room, H laughs disdainfully, mocking that a deputy captain is worth only 30 gold. Ailin lifts her head, eyes cold and sharp as blades. She firmly declares a bid of 30 gold. Bunny cheers excitedly, making the duel the highlight of the night. Ailin trembles inside, betting all her fortune to win. Bunny suddenly widens her eyes in shock. H raises the bid mockingly. Bidder 1 offers 35 gold. The crowd falls silent, none daring to speak. Chu Yi watches Ailin weaken, filled with unease. A voice calls from behind, Deputy Captain Chu Yi. A large man approaches, clasping his hands coldly. He delivers a scornful message, saying the poor shouldn't dream of joining here. Laughter spreads across the hall as H bursts out, amused by his rival's reaction. Bunny raises her hand challengingly, calling for the final bid. The paddle in the man's hand is suddenly snatched away. Chu Yi stands tall, holding his own paddle high. He shouts his bid 50 gold. The entire hall falls dead silent, everyone staring in shock. On the upper floor, his expression darkens, uneasy at such a reckless move. But he still grins, treating it as an entertaining show. In the private room, he keeps pressing the remote repeatedly. He sneers arrogantly, saying no one has ever dared challenge Olaf this long. Bunny calls out bidder 1 raises to 55 gold. He orders again gleefully 60 gold. The staff gasps, reporting bidder 1 jumps straight to 80 gold. Chu Yi smiles calmly, unfazed. He raises his hand and states firmly 90 gold. Ailin panics, softly warning Chu Yi they don't have enough money. Chu Yi calculates they only have 80 gold but stays composed, assuring Hell ask Zhongji for help if needed. A quiet voice approaches, saying warmly it's only a bit of gold. Zhongji appears, smiling confidently, promising to cover the rest. Ailin gasps in surprise. The guard behind urgently reminds them the price exceeds budget and that Zhongju is now aiding their rival. Chu Yi smirks, waving mockingly, replying that the poor shouldn't pretend to keep up. The man roars in fury, rage bursting forth. Under the long stretch of night lights, the misty streets fall silent. He slips his hand into his pocket, thanking them in a low voice and promising to repay Chu-Yi. Chu-Yi grins, giving a thumbs up, saying money should be used to grow stronger, just as the teacher taught. Suddenly, a strange sound makes all three startle. Zhangji stammers in confusion, asking what's happening. Ailin grips her phone tightly, reading an urgent alert the entire Misha squad is mobilized for an A-level disaster. Wind howls fiercely outside, freezing and violent. Flocks of birds scatter in panic from the distant mountains. The ground shakes violently amid deafening explosions. A gigantic centipede bursts out from underground. A deep fissure opens, releasing flashes of crimson lightning. Thunder roars, shaking the whole region. The ground beneath Chu-Yi's group quakes wildly. Zhangji shouts in panic, not understanding what's happening. Ailin drops her phone as the alert repeats the Misha squad is executing an A-level plan. She orders Irene to form a support team and organize an emergency evacuation. After speaking, Ailin turns to the two men, eyes stern. Chu-Yi stands firm, declaring his readiness to fight under her command. Irene beside Zhangji clenches her fist, declaring she won't back down either. Ailin nods and leads the whole team forward. They charge into the blazing red zone where smoke and fire devour the sky. A reconnaissance plane flies by, broadcasting an evacuation order. Panic erupts as civilians flee chaotically toward the train station. Shouts echo, urging everyone to keep running. The crowd freezes at the sound of horrific screams ahead. A trembling woman points upward, shouting. All look up, horrified to see swarms of flying monsters covering the sky. A giant beetle dives down, its sharp claws slicing through the air toward the crowd. One man is flung aside, collapsing instantly. The strike kills the victim on the spot. More people fall one after another under the monster's claws. A mother clutches her child and runs desperately for her life. Suddenly, another huge beetle blocks the path. Its eyes gleam with hunger as it charges like an arrow. The mother pales, hugging her child tightly, tears falling in despair. Chu-Yi storms in like a tempest, slashing the creature in half. The mother opens her eyes, stunned by the sudden reversal. Chu-Yi stands proudly before the people, radiant amid the darkness. Flames ignite along his arm, burning brilliantly. From his blazing spear, he thrusts through another monster's body. The mother hides behind him, trembling and speechless. Her pale face quivers as she whispers heartfelt thanks. Noise behind makes Chu-Yi turn as someone calls out. Ailin uses her power to lift two men into the air. A man with side bangs recognizes them as Tony's former teammates from the tournament. Chu-Yi grows angry, disgusted at fake awakeners who abandon others to die. Ailin grabs their collars, introducing herself as Deputy Captain Irene, ordering them to join the Reserve City Defense Unit. The man with side bangs breaks free, shouting refusal, afraid fighting will ruin his chances in competition. The buzz-cut man agrees coldly, saying it's not their duty. Sidebang man steps closer to Chu-Yi, scowling resentfully. He sneers, mocking that he hopes the monsters kill the would-be champion. Suddenly, a monster's thread shoots out, wrapping tightly around him. The strand constricts, slamming him to the ground motionless. Ailin rushes in, grabs him, and smashes him down hard, voice icy. She doesn't give him a chance to resist. Ailin stomps on his face, voice sharp as steel, stressing, this is a recruitment order, not a negotiation. She glances down and commands to take them for punishment under Dao Ping rules. The sidebang man cries, claiming he's an Olaf contestant, not yet enlisted, begging for mercy. Chu-Yi steps forward, glaring with contempt, scolding that when monsters breach the gate yet he still serves a clan, he's unworthy of being called a warrior. Ailin raises her phone, issuing an urgent radio command. All fighters near the Vermilion Bird Gate must reinforce immediately, no delays allowed. At the Vermilion Bird Gate, chaos and flames engulf everything. The two stand silent, gazing toward the burning city. Realizing the grave danger, Ailin orders the advance, and Chu-Yi promptly agrees. They gallop on war horses, racing through shattered streets. Just outside the city, a violent explosion shakes the ground. Swarms of monsters surge forward like a raging tide. Chu-Yi shouts through the wind, urging Ailin to go ahead. They can't wait. Both leap from the vehicle, charging into the front line. Eileen grabs his hand, the two vaulting together onto the city wall. The scene below is filled with corpses of humans and beasts, drenched in tragedy. Chu-yi grits his teeth, blaming himself for arriving too late. He looks at the monsters below and asks if the two of them can wipe them all out. Eileen observes silently, her gaze firm. She spots a large abandoned cannon near the wall corner. She says decisively that if it still works, it will be the key to holding the gate. With that, she dashes off, shouting for Chu-yi to hold for 2 minutes. As she disappears, the horde instantly surrounds him. He mutters in brief panic, "Just me?" Chu-yi takes a deep breath, eyes blazing with resolve, vowing to endure to the end. He spins and swings his sword, steel flashing through the night. Monster corpses fall, blood splattering around him. From his mouth, a long tongue shoots out like a sticky thread. One creature is ensnared and slammed hard into the ground. Chu-yi skillfully controls the tongue, clearing the beasts nearby. But a giant beetle suddenly charges, shaking him to the core. It punches him in the abdomen with immense force. Chu-yi ignites flames in his hand, red light flaring wildly. He plants his spear into the ground, holding balance under the crushing force. Gasping, drenched in sweat, he roars amid the battle. The monster keeps lunging, desperate to crush him. Chu-yi braces his spear, realizing why others fled. One lapse means death. He glances at nearby civilians' bodies lying motionless. Their ruined faces weigh heavily on his heart. His eyes darken, filled with sorrow and determination. At that moment, the beast swings its claws in a sudden strike. He flips aside, dodging by a hair's breadth. Chu-yi gathers strength and drives his spear into the monster's leg, unleashing full power. He grits his teeth, swearing that no one has the right to flee from danger. Chu-yi bends down, picking up a piece of monster flesh from the ground. As he swallows it, the system chime announces a new trait absorbed. Instantly, both his arms transform into dragon claws sharp as steel. Chu-yi stands tall amid the swarm, roaring like thunder, ordering them to get out of his sight. As the monsters charge, he sweeps his dragon claws, flinging them off the wall. One beast slams its massive claw down on his head. The impact explodes with a deafening crash, dust engulfing the battlefield. When the smoke clears, a glowing orb appears near the monster's corpse. From it, countless mutated beasts crawl out, spreading across the ground. One tail sprays strange liquid. The next explosion booms, thick smoke swirling even heavier. The insects swarm like a torrential flood, filling the entire view. After the shock wave, Chu-yi staggers, body bloodied and torn. He grits his teeth, growling in frustration, feeling the endless nature of the fight. He calls out in a deep voice, pleading for Vice Captain Eilin's support. Gazing toward the city behind, he steels himself, knowing that if they fall, it will all be destroyed. Pain surged as he imagined the townsfolk massacred, his eyes blazing with resolve. Flames ignited around his arm as he stepped onto the rampart. His whole body blazed like a descending war god. The monsters, provoked, roared and charged in clusters. Chu-yi swung his spear high into the sky. A massive vortex of fire exploded, shining like hellish fireworks. The monsters were burned to ashes, falling amid their wails. Meanwhile, chaos erupted in the control system. Staff shouted alarms. All city defenses had lost activation ability. A burly man roared, asking why the main crystal core wasn't responding. He slammed the table, ordering an immediate reboot. A bespectacled engineer responded in panic. The man turned sharply, shocked to see who had spoken. All staff turned to look, whispering it was the son of the Zhang family, the system's developers. Seeing Zhang Qi's calm demeanor, the black-clad group murmured no one knew the defense system better than him. Zhang Qi sat before the console, face composed. From his back unfolded two mechanical arms like those of a living machine. He operated swiftly, coordinating with the metal arms at superhuman speed. Suddenly he froze, eyes fixed on the data stream. He analyzed the crystal circuits, energy and monitoring signals all appeared stable. His face paled. He swallowed hard, realizing if nothing was broken. His trembling fingers paused over the keyboard. After scanning the data, Zhang Qi frowned in confusion. He murmured that the energy flow was interrupted and an anomaly detected. Someone had launched a diagnostic and forcibly cut all power from the crystal core. Zhongchait saw that the fortress and defenses were disabled by energy loss. He noticed a rare maintenance program had suddenly activated. The black-clad team exchanged looks, suspecting sabotage to let monsters seize the city. Zhongchait typed faster in silence, focusing on restoring key weapons. He pressed the restart command firmly. The central crystal slowly recovered, glowing with stored energy. The wall cannons trembled and powered up again. Weapons fired in unison, raining bullets upon the monsters below. The citizens cheered as the system stabilized, joy spreading everywhere. Zhongchait worked intently, relieved that past rescue drills paid off. Seeing the wounded tended to, he felt his burden lighten. Church members aided in evacuation and rescue efforts. The sight of the black-clad commander maintaining order reassured him the intelligence bureau had secured the shelter zone. A cloaked figure directed the crowd. Corridor C was packed, civilians guided to safety. Military units deployed, and the plot to exploit the weakened strike team failed. Seeing monsters surge forth, Zhongchait realized the entire city would fall if they didn't act. Anger rose as he thought the losses wouldn't be so severe if the army had acted sooner. Seeing two men shake hands, he reminded himself not to lower his guard. A bad premonition flashed, though the system worked, danger remained. He clenched his fist, determined to defend the wall at any cost. The flames still roared. If the defense fell, all hope would vanish. Chu Yi gasped amid the battlefield, bloodied, facing crazed monsters. He cursed through gritted teeth in fury. Rage flared, he roared, drained, unable to use his skill again. He shouted in wrath, the battle far from over. Suddenly, a giant centipede opened its monstrous jaws. The creature lunged, trying to devour him whole. Chewie gritted his teeth, his body blazing bright. He thrust his flaming spear through the monster's head. Landing, his sharp eyes scanned the battlefield. He looked toward the cannon, trudging through rubble. Time had far exceeded limits, nearly 10 minutes past. In anger, he failed to notice another centipede crawling up, still blaming his allies. The centipede shot forward like lightning. He realized its intent just in time. A cold glint flashed in his eyes. The beast coiled, its aura ferocious. It lunged straight for the cannon, aiming to destroy it. Chu Yi froze at the sight. He leapt up instantly, landing atop the monster's head. The flaming spear in his hand blazed fiercely. He drove it down with all his might through the creature's skull. The centipede collapsed instantly. Before he could rest, another lunged he couldn't evade. Suddenly, a thunderous explosion erupted. A shell flew, slicing off the monster's head. Seeing the fortress active, Chu Yi felt relief. Ailin crawled out from the cannon, covered in dust. Her face lit up, announcing the energy had been restored. The cannons fired in rapid succession. The monsters fell under the rain of bullets. Thundering footsteps echoed as armored soldiers arrived. Chu Yi frowned, muttering softly. Finally, reinforcements had come. Ailin commanded firmly, ordering them to hold until defenses fully restored. The troops spread out, securing positions to block the swarm. The creatures surged like rolling waves. Black liquid sprayed from their tails. The soldiers shouted in unison, ready to counterattack. They raised guns, shooting down each beast. But the enemy numbers were overwhelming. One soldier was bitten in the neck and fell dead instantly. The forces were gradually pushed back by the monsters. A soldier shouted to rally his comrades. But at once a bug lunged at him. Its jaws sank deep into his body. He screamed in unbearable agony. Soon the army was overrun. Bullets couldn't stop the tide. Death cries mixed with the monster's roars across the field. A scream pierced through the chaos. Cries for help and curses echoed aloud. Chu Yi became a living flame, his body ablaze. He unleashed fierce strikes, burning every insect that charged. Panting, he raised his fiery spear, sweat pouring like rain. Hoarse, he ordered his comrades to retreat while he held the line. When he looked back, only death covered the scene. Emotions burst, his anger reaching its peak. He cursed inwardly through clenched teeth. Seeing the swarm advancing, he roared a challenge. Chu-Yi gathered his strength, unleashing a massive fire attack that burned the sky. Suddenly, a warning light flared violently. A gate opened, spewing waves of hot smoke. He turned, his gaze locking on the great cannon. Beside Ai-Lin, a faint, shadowy figure appeared. Through the mist, her soft voice introduced her identity. In the command center, the black-clad team hurriedly operated, ready to fire. The defense cannons were fully charged. The monsters swarmed close to the city walls. Ai-Lin ordered without hesitation to open fire immediately. The fortress barrage tore through the air. A rain of flames descended upon the enemy. Dreadful explosions shook the heavens and earth. The monsters were blown apart piece by piece. The blast wave wiped out all nearby creatures. Chu-Yi stood tall upon the city wall. His calm eyes observed the scene before him. The dying groans faded within the smoke and fire. Beneath their feet, only ashes and silence remained. Chu-Yi gripped his spear, scanning cautiously. He turned to Ai-Lin, calmly saying the monsters were nearly wiped out. She softly replied, noting the fortress power but its limited recharge time. Ai-Lin added that they could usually detect anomalous energy days in advance. Chu-Yi stayed silent while she clenched her hands. Her hands trembled, voice choking as she said there had been no warning this time. He stepped closer, his gaze warm. Gently placing his hand on her shoulder, he comforted her in silence. Looking at the ruins, he softly reassured her it wasn't her fault. Ai-Lin replied faintly, repeating her words like a mantra. She wiped her tears, whispering she only felt heavy-hearted. Suddenly, a terrifying rumble cut through the air. They froze atop the wall. The ground shook violently. From underground, a colossal mass burst upward. A giant tentacle wrapped around the wall in madness. Its brutal tendrils struck toward the cannons. Chu-Yi gritted his teeth, shouting a warning. A tentacle's strike shattered the cannon into fragments. The violent impact hurled him off the wall. He looked down in shock. Ai-Lin slipped, falling amid the debris. In that life-or-death instant, Chu-Yi transformed, his arm extending massively. The giant hand caught her body. His other hand clung tightly to the wall's edge. They hung suspended in midair. Ai-Lin's face turned pale as she screamed in panic. She cried that the entire fortress had been completely destroyed. Chu-Yi looked up in disbelief, exclaiming in shock. Seeing the giant monster emerge, he roared furiously, demanding what it was. The colossal creature screamed, shaking the very sky. The two shouted together, refusing to let the wall be destroyed. Chu-Yi shot forward like an arrow. The two combined their power, striking the monster's head. Their merged energy pierced straight through the creature's forehead. But its scalp was as hard as iron. The attack was completely useless. He froze, muttering in disbelief at the lack of reaction. Chu-Yi leapt out, channeling energy into his flaming spear. He gritted his teeth, aiming for the creature's weak eyes. A loud splash-like explosion erupted. He stabbed hard into the monster's eye, but the spear couldn't pierce it. Fear flashed through him as he cried out helplessly. The creature coiled its body, then dived straight downward. Its jaws bit deep into the city wall. A large section was chewed away before it shot upward again. Shattered stones sent both of them flying through the air. Chu-Yi cursed furiously through clenched teeth. Ai-Lin looked in panic at the trembling wall, fearing collapse. They paused under the monster's shadow, a sudden realization flashing in their eyes. The beast opened its mouth, rows of sharp fangs gleaming. It lunged straight toward the fortress. From the darkness, a furious gaze flared. A massive crimson hammer struck down like thunder. The heavy blow made the monster's head quake violently. Both looked up in shock. A familiar figure emerged through the smoke. They shouted together, recognizing Leng Xiao, captain of the Slaughter Division. Xiaoleng Xiao, commander of Unit 1, appeared with overwhelming presence. Chu-Yi widened his eyes in surprise, while Ai-Lin excitedly introduced him as the strongest captain after Corey. She explained that Leng Xiao's ability was blood manipulation, his frail body due to constant blood loss in battle. From Leng Xiao's body, streams of blood poured out. They formed crimson fists filled with destructive power. Ai-Lin sternly warned not to judge his power by his frail appearance. The blood force attacks raged like a storm, making the creature shriek as flames burst everywhere. Chu Yi trembled at the terrifying might Leng Xiao displayed. The monster screamed weakly, seeming close to collapse. But it suddenly recovered, flinging massive tentacles toward Leng Xiao. The tendrils slashed down like blades. They relentlessly targeted his position like a killing machine. Chu Yi sprang into the air. He shouted in alarm that the wall might collapse while Ai Lin urged him not to panic. The creature spread its giant tentacles wide, pressing down to crush everything. Leng Xiao calmly resisted below with a slender spear, face unwavering. With a quick motion, his two fingers twisted precisely. A colossal blood hammer instantly formed, smashing the monster's head upward. The hammer dissolved into the air like mist. It then reshaped into glowing blood shackles. The shackles clamped around the monster's head, forcing it to the ground as it screamed in agony. Leng Xiao stood composed, watching the writhing beast with cold eyes. He bit his hand hard, fresh blood flowing from the wound. His deep voice echoed like the whispers of fallen souls. Their hatred, fury, and resolve to fight were clear in his every move. From the corpses around, drops of blood gathered into a single mass. A gigantic blood greatsword materialized in Leng Xiao's hand, glowing hellish red. He coldly declared he would use the life force of the fallen to destroy the beast. The monster convulsed and struggled to break free from the shackles, but failed. Leng Xiao leapt into the air, slashing down the blood sword. A brilliant crimson arc tore through the air, sharp and vivid. Chu Yi stood afar, drenched in sweat, heart pounding at the terrifying sight. The monster's body was cleaved in two beneath the blood blade. Leng Xiao's sword cut through it mercilessly. Blood gushed from its head, merging into a crimson rain that dyed the sky. Chu Yi stood stunned, inwardly admitting this crushing pressure was truly the might of Unit 1's leader. Under the rain of blood, Leng Xiao covered his mouth, coughing hoarsely before regaining composure. He then turned to Ai Lin, his gaze still cold. Under the pale moonlight, he spoke in a deep, proud tone. "Worthy are my members, their blood still carries the will to fight." Ai Lin frowned, glancing at the blood on his hand, gently reminding him to treat his wound. Leng Xiao searched for a bandage, accepted one from her, wrapped his wound, and vowed to avenge the fallen by slaying the Abyssal Lord. In the darkness, Chu Yi silently vowed, his eyes sharp, realizing the gap between himself and the captains remained vast despite his growth. A piercing roar shattered the silence behind him. Looking up, he was stunned to see numerous aircraft gliding across the dim sky. Rescue pods descended simultaneously from the planes. They trailed bright orange-gold lights, moving swiftly under command. A massive machine landed before him, dust rising high. From the cockpit, Zhong Jai of OGF declared boldly that the Zhong family's engineers would restore the wall before dawn using their advanced technology. Chu Yi stared at the giant machine in awe, uttering words of admiration. Under the metallic glow, he marveled at the operating robots, realizing their tech was an era beyond the old, understanding why Minghai was so coveted. Leng Xiao called out firmly, summoning Chu Yi, Ai Lin, and Zhong Qiet to report before the Supreme Council. Chu Yi hesitated briefly, worried the wall hadn't fully recovered and monsters might return. The captain smiled confidently, cutting him off, saying with him guarding, nothing would change, and he even welcomed more monsters. Chu Yi nodded and accepted the order with a short reply. The scene shifted to a grand parliament hall, its chamber bathed in blue light from massive display screens. The three stood upright in the center as Chu Yi solemnly reported Leng Xiao's defeat of the giant beast and the Zhong family's ongoing wall repairs. Ai Lin introduced herself as deputy leader of Unit 1. She paused briefly, her cold gaze sweeping the chamber before continuing. Zhang Shiyi, president of the Zhong Corporation, spoke solemnly, confirming the catastrophe stemmed from sabotage of the central energy system. Ai Lin firmly added that the system was now stable and urged the council to launch a full-scale investigation immediately. Bai Zhending, head of intelligence, vowed to begin the investigation immediately, but stressed a more urgent issue must be handled first. An irritable voice objected, expressing dissatisfaction and claiming the situation was being downplayed absurdly. Tai A, leader of the anomalous church, skillfully intervened, redirecting the debate toward responding to the current Class A Abyss incident. She glanced at the side screen sharply, asking Captain Ki Shuo directly when their forces could depart. Ki Shuo replied calmly that elite teams and noble families were assembled, but they just received an emergency alert before the meeting began. The screen lit up, showing chaos at Research Institute number 12 as a monster wrapped around a truck while people screamed for help. Another creature attacked the humans on screen, trapping the entire Institute number 12 under siege. Zhang Shuai explained it was the Zhang family's top-secret facility, overseen by Zhang Qit's elder sister, with the project's contents classified even to him. Zhang Qit showed deep anxiety, filled with concern for his sister's situation. Aylin calmly noted that Institute number 12 was originally planned within the city, but ultimately wasn't built there. The relocation decision stemmed from frontline security concerns, forcing them to move outside the inner city. Chu Yi silently understood, realizing this might have been deliberate. He stepped forward urgently, asking if evacuation measures were underway and about his sister's condition. Ki Shuo answered directly that, since the Institute hadn't issued an alert, most were trapped. He proposed sending Leng Xiao's unit for rescue instead of delaying the campaign. Tai A grew stern, objecting to that plan. Kelly Ke voiced the church's concern. Abyssal energy was escalating, and failing to kill the Overlord soon would worsen everything. Ki Shuo decided swiftly, assigning the rescue to Captain Fa Luo of Unit 2 while keeping the crusade on schedule. Bai Zhending protested sharply, arguing their force lacked the minimum 10 Level 1 awakened required to ensure the mission's success, so no one could be spared. CG shouted angrily, blaming them for approving the Institute's construction outside the city and now ignoring the danger. Raz sternly urged to eliminate the Abyssal Lord to protect Minghai City, and Roloff ordered deployment as planned. He smirked triumphantly, mocking Chu Yi for once refusing to join the Olaf clan, but now begging their aid. Ki Shuo realized Roloff's righteousness was fake. He was exploiting the moment to harm the Zhang family. Chu Yi bitterly realized they had no intention of saving anyone. His words shocked the entire council. Everyone fell silent, none daring to speak. Zhang Chet bravely volunteered to take on the rescue mission. Helicopter engines roared through the air. The blades shredded the stillness of the night. A black hole suddenly opened, swirling with red-black lightning. Bolts of energy burst violently from within the pit. Inside the helicopter cabin, a shadowy figure appeared. Aylin told Chu Yi she would join the crusade, assigning the rescue mission to his team. Chu Yi silently nodded, knowing they could no longer provide support. He recalled the meeting with Raz on the screen. Raz had issued a ban on rescue operations, ordering all extermination units to focus on the Abyss assault. Chu Yi replied that he wasn't part of the extermination force and would volunteer to rescue Institute number 12. He felt grateful that the captain still helped them despite the council's pressure. Zhang Yi realized his teammates also volunteered to fight alongside him. He looked at Zhong Qiet, understanding his worry for his sister's safety. He glanced at each comrade from former skeptics to the calm Lu Dao, his confidence strengthening. He clenched his fist, declaring this mission unlike any before with unpredictable danger. Dao Ding stepped up cheerfully, smiling, saying following Chu Yi was the right choice. Lu Dao's eyes shone as he recalled the life debt owed when Chu Yi saved him. Chu Yi ordered preparations, announcing the drop point was near, and the team quickly took positions. He shouted thanks to his comrades, then firmly commanded departure. As the aircraft descended, their united reply thundered back. The helicopter door slowly opened. An armored vehicle rushed out at high speed. Zhang Yi looked out the window, watching behind them. Zhong Qiet called softly, his deep voice drawing his attention. He recounted his father's regret for not being able to save his daughter himself. He looked at him gratefully, vowing never to forget his help. Chu Yi fell silent, thinking of those waiting to be saved, driven by conscience to act. He smiled gently, telling Zhongqi not to call him benefactor but brother-in-arms. Thick smoke billowed under the night sky. Sparks flickered faintly above. The vehicle drove deeper into the burning city. Zhang Yi disembarked, disheartened to see the ruins as devastated as Minghai City. A weak cry rose from the rubble, catching the team's attention. A feeble arm reached out from the debris. Chu Wu rushed forward, locating the survivor. A staggering man crawled out of the wreckage. He raised a trembling hand for help, face pale as death. Zhongqi quickly supported him, pulling the victim free. Chu Yi suddenly felt something was off. He shouted a warning for Zhongqi to stay alert. A massive aquatic monster burst out, surrounding them. Its glowing eyes fixed hungrily on Zhongqi. Zhongjai was horrified, realizing they were ambushed. The creature gripped his arm, its strength growing fiercer. The parasitized victim trembled, begging to be killed. Zhongja screamed in terror as his hand corroded from the poison. A sudden beam of light slashed through the air. Chu Yi appeared, striking to sever the creature's arm. But its wound regenerated instantly. Zhang Yi panicked as the monster's flesh rejoined, constricting Zhongqi tighter. He wept in rage. The system announced, "The liquid entity Goliath is formed from total body fluid severing, cannot inflict real damage." Chu Yi shouts for Zhongqi to break the crystal on its shoulder since physical attacks are useless. Zhongqi grits his teeth, seeing no weak spot. He channels power into his remaining hand, ready to strike back. He roars, vowing to freeze the creature. He stomps on the monster and unleashes a fierce blow. The aquatic beast's body is cut in half. It shatters into countless fragments. The bright moonlight appears in the night sky. Zhongqi closes the fallen's eyes, mourning their last meeting. Chu Yi quietly says the food scout team never returned. This is true cruelty. Lu Dao steps forward, calling the captain in silence. She reports the area is empty, no living signals or communication. Zhang Chiat's vision blurs in despair. He cries, shouting the main research lab is underground with defenses. Staring at the ruins, Zhang Chiat chokes, believing his sister's team is trapped below. A massive ice block suddenly rises from the ground. The team recoils in horror. Other water beasts rush in ferociously. Zhongqi turns pale, drenched in sweat. He charges straight at the enemy. He unleashes an all-out desperate strike. But his metal hand quickly melts away. The creature sprouts 3 more heads, lunging at Chu Yi's group. Its body swells, blocking the whole area. Lu Dao raises her staff, summoning lightning down. One head instantly lunges toward her. Its body coils tightly around Lu Dao's group. Bocham turns back, terrified by the red cord surrounding them. The monster squeezes the 3, eyes blazing with hunger. Chu Yi activates battle armor, counterattacking wildly but in vain. The group is violently dragged backward. Zhongqi is bound inside the creature, trembling. He sobs, biting his lip in despair. His voice cracks as he calls his sister's name. Suddenly, a voice echoes through the chaos. "Achiet, can you hear me?" A bell rings in his pocket, the familiar voice comes through. Zhongqi recognizes the familiar tone. He trembles, crying with joy at hearing his sister. The screen shows Zhongqi surrounded by aquatic beasts. A firm command voice sounds from the control room. Zhongdi coldly orders them to escape the monsters first. The 4 team members remain trapped by the giant creature. Chu Yi glances at his scorched arm, eyes sharp with alertness. Zhongqi rushes in from the outer ring like the wind. He shouts, signaling everyone to follow him. Zhongdi's urgent voice comes through the headset. She directs them to turn right and climb past the junction to hide. The beasts roar madly, chasing close behind. Spotting an open door, Zhongdi yells it's the entrance. From inside, she urges them to hurry in. As the monster nears, Zhongdi shouts to seal the door. It roars and slams hard, but cannot break through. The monsters only surround the base, screaming wildly. Cold lights fill the interior of the facility. Chu Yi's group gasps for breath after the terrifying escape. On the large screen appears Zhongdi's image. She smiles brightly, seeing her teammates safe. Zhongqi joyfully calls his sister, moved that she's alive. Zhongdai excitedly announces she has created a self-growing crystal. Chu Yi raises his hand to interrupt, asking for a current situation report. Zhongdi adjusts her glasses and calmly explains they were trapped by a sudden monster invasion. She swiftly operates the control keyboard. Zhongdi displays monster footage, analyzing their attempt to dig underground. She points to a specimen tube, saying it lures the monsters. Lu Dao gasps in horror, realizing the lab studies living creatures. Zhongdi calmly explains awakeners need strong crystals to upgrade power, or their strength stays limited. She adds that the liquid Goliath can absorb others, which they exploited. She raises a glowing crystal, declaring success in creating one that co-evolves with its user. Zhongqi beams with joy at his sister's achievement. Zhongdi confirms it's true, but notes the drawback: growth is slower than using fresh monster crystals. Chuyi hesitates, his tone heavy. He takes a breath and asks if there's any timely support plan to avoid entering alone to rescue those trapped below. Zhongdi frowns, firmly saying not to rely on them. She presses a key, showing a full map and declaring the area beyond rescue, ordering them to collect research data from the internal archive. Zhongqiet shouts in shock, accusing her of abandoning everyone. Zhongdi firmly reassures him, stressing that crystal progress outweighs current lives. A voice from the command room coldly rejects that plan. Chuyi clenches his fist, steps toward the screen, and threatens to go alone if no viable plan exists. Zhongdi falls silent, her eyes deep in thought. She switches to a subway map, explaining one transport line remains intact for escape. She continues, saying the underground control center was breached and needs power restored to reactivate the route. Zhongdi points to a door on the map, warning that opening it will draw enemies and trap the operator in a deadly spot. She firmly opposes such a risky move due to extreme danger. Chu Yi activates his arm device, smiling decisively and declaring the team will execute the plan together. He volunteers to trigger the rescue hatch, assigning Zhongqiet and the others to repair power and finalize the plan. The scene shifts to the underground power station. Touting freezes at the chaotic scene. He blurts out in confusion, not understanding what happened. Zhongqiet steps forward, sternly orders 2 guards to press the glowing spot on signal. Both acknowledge. Zhongqiet then plugs his robotic hand into the control panel and starts operating. He reports via headset that the system is connected and needs 600 seconds to reboot, while Zhongqiet anxiously asks about the situation outside. The scene cuts back to the exterior. Chuyi and Lu Jiao move toward the barrier gate. As the gate appears before them, tension rises sharply. Chuyi reports via comms that they see the gate and will reach it before power returns. Zhongqiet urges through the headset that once power's on, they'll have only 30 seconds to open it for the vehicle. His voice is urgent, stressing speed is critical. Uncle D clutches the document box, rushing out and reminding everyone not to forget the internal files. He turns back, hastily adding, they must also back up the experiment video. A member reports to Zhongdi that all wounded have boarded the car. Hearing this, Zhongdi immediately announces over the headset that her side is ready to move. She orders urgently for everyone to board now, leaving any uncollected data. Footsteps echo as only a few people remain running. Zhongdi coldly urges them to move faster. Zhongqiet hurriedly counts down the last 10 seconds, asking if everyone is in. Zhongyi reports through comms that the gate is in position, all set. Zhongdi replies the train is also stable. With orders from both sides, Zhongqiet activates the control panel and begins countdown 3, 2, 1 power on. Lights in the station flicker wildly. The train engines roar, power restored, light flooding the underground. Zhongdi cheers in relief that power is back. A wounded soldier suddenly glances out the window. He spots a monster's shadow crawling closer. The aquatic beasts roar, charging toward the train. He screams in terror, they're coming. Zhongdi instantly orders everyone to stay seated. She slams the emergency button and the train blasts forward. The train accelerates violently. But the beasts cling close behind, refusing to let go. A piercing screech echoes from deep within the dark tunnel. The train carrying the group speeds straight toward the exit. It feels like a choked farewell in the dark. The water beasts keep chasing relentlessly. Their path corrodes everything, melting steel and iron. Ha Zhong shouts in fear, urging to go faster. Seeing them close in, he yells a warning of imminent danger. Zhang Di replies desperately that the train is at full power. One monster opens its massive jaws, lunging like a storm. Suddenly, an explosion shakes the entire tunnel. Ha Zhong realizes gunners on both sides are bombarding the beast. Through the smoke and fire, he sees clearly. Zhong Chiat's figure appears, manning the cannon. He fires continuously, protecting the train's escape. Everyone aboard sighs in relief, thinking they're safe. But the control panel suddenly flashes an error signal. The system reports no response from the gate control. Zhang Di frowns, sensing trouble at the gate. The steel door halts halfway, refusing to open. Ha Zhong shouts in panic the gate is stuck. Chu Yi's face darkens, realizing if it won't open, the whole plan fails. Section edited. Zhang Jiat screams in despair, asking what his sister intends to do. Zhang Di turns back, scolding gently yet firmly, telling him not to interfere, just keep the train safe. She jumps off the train, ignoring her brother's desperate calls. Zhang Di rushes to the lowest level, muttering that the only way is to open the last floor to lure the hive leader out. On the other side, Lu Jiao and Chu Yi watch the unmoving gate. Chu Yi frowns in doubt, confirming the door is completely jammed. Flashback to the moment before Zhang Di left the train. Seeing the train approach, Zhong Chiat signals his teammates to prepare. All three brace themselves, waiting for the right moment to jump onto the roof. Zhong Chiat quickly slips into the control cabin. Hez moved to tears, shouting for his sister. He hugs Zhang Di tightly, overjoyed, but she pushes him away, scolding that until the gate opens, they aren't safe. Tension fills the control cabin. Zhang Di rechecks the entire gate system. Lu Jiao spots a malfunction and panics, reporting the hydraulic unit is broken. Hearing that, Zhong Chiat advises leaving the train before it's too late. Zhang Di shouts back, refusing to abandon it. She glances outside, insisting that if they leave, they'll die surrounded by monsters only the train can save them. At the same time, Chu Yi exerts all his strength to push the gate before the train arrives. He transforms his form, channeling energy from the giant serpent staff core. His muscles tighten, pressing all force against the barrier. Zhang Di witnesses and immediately reports through the headset to let him handle the gate. Uncle Joe shouts in shock, objecting that the gate needs 4 10,000-ton hydraulics, human strength can't move it. Hearing that, Chu Yi freezes, knowing he's right. Even with full power, the gate doesn't budge. He refuses to give up, deciding to use his ultimate move. His body turns into glowing, living armor. The missile anchor system activates. 4 cables shoot out, latching firmly onto the gate. He mutters, channeling pull force through the anchor mechanism. Then he activates the lone tail spike mode, his legs sprouting metal claws. The clawed feet lock deep into the steel floor. His body tightens, storing energy like a fully drawn bow. Chu Yi roars like a wild beast. He pushes the heavy gate with all his might. The warning system blares, reporting severe mechanical injury under self-repair. Lu Jiao stares in awe at the scene. She exclaims his strength has surpassed human limits. Blood runs from Chu Yi's lips, yet he still yells, commanding the door to move. The steel gate shakes violently, revealing a faint slit of light. Lu Jiao shouts in disbelief the gate is actually opening. Everyone on the train falls silent in shock and admiration. Zhang Di exclaims in disbelief, amazed that the reckless plan worked. Chu Yi's eyes blaze as he declares he just needs 2 more minutes. Suddenly, slimy liquid drips down behind him. From the darkness, a water beast suddenly strikes. It coils tightly around his body like living ropes. Chu Yi snarls in fury, cursing as he's attacked at the critical moment, his hands gripping the gate, unable to fight back, forced to endure. Zhong Chiat can only scream helplessly through the headset, asking if Chu Yi can still hold on. He notices Zhang Di now wearing her combat armor. At the same time, Lu Dao releases a blazing lightning bolt. The current pierces through the monsters, burning them amid shrieks. She observes hordes swarming in, her face turning grim. Chu Yi struggles to hold the gate while slime coats his body. Zhang Di yells for Chu Yi to release the monster leader to lure them away and keep the gate open. Chu Yi freezes as a water beast surfaces before him. It lunges straight at his head in attack. Meanwhile, Zhang Cheat's train speeds like an arrow. Tute panics, calling Chungsho to look up. He sees the gate gap too narrow, shouting they can't fit through. Zhang Cheat grows anxious, knowing slowing down means they won't make it. Suddenly, a strange noise from the train roof chills everyone. Uncle D screams there's a monster on top. The water beasts screech, trying to crawl inside the cabin. Zhang Cheat, under extreme tension, decides to take the risky move of accelerating. He slams the red emergency button. The train surges forward, flinging the monsters off the roof. Tochom looks out the window to check. A moment later, he exhales in relief, no monsters in sight. He trembles, believing they've escaped. But slimy tentacles stretch out from the darkness again. A beast crawls into the train before Tochom can run. He's seized tightly by the tentacles, unable to break free. The creature starts devouring him bit by bit. Tochom screams in despair, making everyone turn in terror. All shout, convinced they're doomed. Only Uncle D remains calm, staring at the monster. His eyes grow solemn before making his decision. He dons his battle armor, startling Zhang Cheat. Zhang Cheat calls out, but the uncle only looks back. Uncle D smiles, saying he trusts them and they are the future. Then he charges the monster, saying the old man will fight one last time. Zhang Cheat cries, screaming for him to stop. Uncle D grips the monster tightly, pinning it down. He activates the thrusters, dragging both away from the group. Once far enough, he triggers the armor's self-destruct mode. A massive explosion erupts, shaking the ground. Zhang Cheat grits his teeth, enduring the pain of loss. He slams his fist on the console, screaming in despair. On the other side, Lu Dao and Chui struggle against the monsters. Suddenly, a piercing sound echoes from the main building. Zhang Cheat and Tao Ding cover their ears in pain. Tao Ding confusedly asks what's happening. Hez horrified as he realizes something strange. All the monsters suddenly swarm toward that building. Inside the train, Zhang Cheat tries to pull the brake, but the system's broken, shouting they can't slow down. Tao Ding panics, suggesting they jump, but Zhang Cheat refuses because passengers remain they can't abandon them. People in the cabin cry out, begging him to save everyone. At that moment, Chu Yi is exhausted, nearly collapsing by the gate. As the train nears, everyone shouts for him to hold on a bit longer. Chu Yi gathers his remaining strength. Roars aloud, declaring that holding the gate is his duty. At that instant, he leaps aside, letting the train pass safely through. Zhang Cheat bursts into tears, overjoyed that everyone survived. Lu Dao gently lands on the train roof. Seeing Chu Yi not follow, Zhang Cheat leans out the door and shouts loudly. He replies, telling him to take everyone back to base safely. Chu Yi's eyes burn with determination, vowing to save Zhang Di at any cost. He stands still, watching the train fade into the darkness. In the underground laboratory, Zhang Di secretly films the monsters, discovering they are drawn here. The Charm Lord. Its glowing red eyes scan the creatures. Suddenly, the monsters go berserk and attack it. Roars echo as they lunge and tear at it. Zhang Di mutters in shock, unable to believe they betrayed their master. But their attacks are useless against the Charm Lord. On the contrary, it absorbs all the energy from the attackers. Zhang Di adjusts her goggles, exclaiming that she understands the cause. She realizes the Charm Lord lured the monsters to absorb them, not from betrayal. The aquatic beasts merge, devouring each other into one giant entity. The fused monster faces the Charm Lord, roaring in challenge. Zhang Di observes, wondering if it intends to overthrow the ruler. The giant creature swings its claws, slashes hard, slicing the Charm Lord's body in an instant. Even split in half, the Charm Lord stands motionless. Zhang Di is stunned, thinking the monster's rebellion might succeed. But from the severed body, countless tentacles emerge, binding the raging giant monster tightly. The Charm Lord exerts power, devouring its foe with immense force. After fully absorbing, it begins to transform its form. A powerful light bursts out, illuminating the chamber. Zhang Di raises her hand to shield her eyes from the glare. As the light fades, she lowers her hand curiously to look up. A complete Goliath form appears before her. Zhang Di panics when realizing it's staring directly at her. The being has a human shape, radiating a strange blue glow. She immediately records, stating this is evidence of Goliath's new evolution stage she captured, hoping someone will find it later. Zhongdi grips the controller tightly, ready to act. Suddenly, 2 cannons rise from the ground, aiming at Goliath. As green smoke rises from the barrels, she mutters, trying to plan a response. The smoke surrounds and cracks Goliath's legs. It looks down in panic, showing fear. It hurriedly flees, despite its torn body. But within moments, the wounds heal and it lands safely. Zhongdi widens her eyes, rubbing them hard in disbelief. Before she can react, 3 ice beams strike down. They pierce Goliath's shoulder, freezing that part solid. It touches the shoulder, speaking in a low tone, saying humans still use this kind of energy. It crushes the ice, scattering fragments around. Zhongdi shudders, realizing that weapon is useless too. She doesn't give up, activating more ice beams firing continuously. Goliath stands still, allowing the ice rays to pass through its body unharmed. Then all the energy vanishes as if it never existed. Zhongdi murmurs in astonishment, yet excitement, realizing Goliath has reached full adaptive evolution against all attacks. Goliath now exudes terrifying pressure, staring at her with icy eyes. Its arm suddenly extends toward Zhongdi. She tries to roll away but is still caught. The giant arm tightens, lifting her off the ground. It roars, realizing she was the one who imprisoned it. Zhongdi writhes in pain as Goliath coldly says, "Merging with humans will be amusing." It smirks wickedly, declaring it wants to taste a living human. The huge body squeezes Zhongdi tighter. She falls into despair, unable to break free. At that moment, a golden light rips through space, striking Goliath and shattering its structure. Goliath jerks and turns to locate the source. Chuyi rushes from behind, grabs Zhongdi, and pulls her free from the monster's grasp. Chuyi steps forward, looking majestic like a god. Zhongdi, still terrified, screams if he's gone mad. She angrily says only she should have sacrificed herself. Now both are in danger. Chuyi furiously rejects sacrificing one for many, vowing to grow stronger to stop it. Zhongdi smirks disdainfully, seeing him as a naive dreamer, while Goliath watches them from afar. It bursts in rage, roaring that enough is enough. Hearing that, Chuyi quickly turns back. Seeing Goliath, he's shocked it's the leader, but now smaller, and Zhongdi explains it devoured the others. Goliath points at her, roaring she's the leader here. It speaks reproachfully, recalling the agony of endless captivity and torture. Painful memories surge as an unseen voice urges it to keep experimenting. It cries in despair that even its pleas were mocked as amusement. Since then, it vowed to make humans suffer the same torment. Chuyi's eyes turn cold, realizing it's time to act. He tells Zhongdi gravely that their research methods were cruel. Zhongdi seriously replies that Goliath's body contains a morphing demon crystal. Unconsciously, Chuyi gives a faint, mysterious smile. He mocks them, saying they've brought the world to its end, yet still want it for human study. Goliath, enraged by the insult, roars that humans deserve to die. It lunges forward, its mutated arm stretching toward Chuyi. He grits his teeth and blocks the monstrous blow. But Goliath, fast as lightning, crushes him like trash. It grips tighter, leaving Chuyi immobile. Then it raises him high and hurls him violently. Chuyi slams into the wall, falling painfully with blood from his mouth. Before he can recover, he faces another strike as Goliath looms tall. It lifts its leg to stomp down. As expected, the kick sends Chuyi plunging into a deep abyss. A thick cloud of smoke rises, obscuring everything. Zhongdi panics as screaming Chuyi's name. From the haze, Goliath charges out ferociously. It stands still, patiently awaiting what comes next. When the smoke clears, Chuyi miraculously survives, gasping heavily. He mutters in awe about the immense power hidden in that small body. A system voice in his mind explains that after merging with its kind, Goliath absorbed all internal power. Chuyi narrows his eyes, planning his next move. A glowing orb appears above Goliath's head, and he tells himself to aim for the weak spot. Chuyi charges like a storm, gripping the Tanglang blade, muttering there's nothing left to fear. Goliath raises both arms to receive the attack. But before Chuyi can strike the weak point, he's completely restrained. The system warns Goliath can evolve endlessly, adapting to every technique. Chuyi curses for realizing too late. Trapped midair, his arms bleed from the crushing grip. Goliath dominates, smiling triumphantly. Chuyi lowers his head, gritting his teeth through the pain. Suddenly, his eyes blaze with fierce resolve. He struggles violently, breaking free from the monster's grasp. Goliath freezes in disbelief. Chuyi's eyes turn white as he grips his weapon. The system reports corrosive devour blade upgraded through Tanglang blade and corrosive fluid. A blazing sharp edge ignites beneath his feet. The system further announces fusion flame blade enhanced. Chuyi spins and slashes, sending a fiery arc tearing through space. Goliath is wounded, staggering backward. It roars angrily, throwing a massive punch in return. Chuyi shows no fear, eyes filled with killing intent, rushing to clash head-on. Their fists collide with a violent shock, shaking the ground. Dust erupts as Zhongdi retreats, shielding her face from debris. As the battle evens out, the system announces tail venom armor activated paralysis toxin hit the target. The poison spreads through Goliath's body like venom tearing his flesh apart. It screams, weakens, then collapses hard onto the stone floor. Zhongdi stares in astonishment, mouth agape. She mutters that Asa once said Chuyi had rare transformation powers, and now he seems half monster. Chuyi approaches coldly, raising his flaming spear to finish it. Goliath lies there, face twisted as the spear nears. A red light floods the entire chamber. But Chuyi halts, his expression conflicted. The spear pierces but doesn't penetrate, completely ineffective. Goliath bursts out laughing gleefully. It glares at him with contempt, saying his chance is over. Chuyi frowns, frustrated that its evolution is so fast it resists even the fusion flame blade. Suddenly, 3 arrows shoot rapidly from afar. Goliath jerks in pain, roaring furiously. It whirls around, eyes blazing with rage. Its arm tightens as it spots the bow. Zhongdi stands firm, calmly declaring she'll assist Chuyi. He looks briefly surprised, unable to respond. Goliath immediately swings in a swift attack. Zhongdi shows no fear, eyes resolute, shouting for him to move aside. She leaps high, drawing her bow to the fullest. The arrow cuts through the air, piercing Goliath and draining its energy. Goliath trembles in searing pain. Its glowing red eyes reveal confusion and disbelief. Chuyi instantly closes in from behind, slashing off its arm. Goliath grimaces, its face pale and breath ragged. Zhongdi lands beside Chuyi, softly saying only by combining powers can they wound it. Both watch intently, eyes sharp as blades, tracking Goliath's every move. The monster's arm dissolves as it roars in rage, accusing humans of stealing divine power and relying on borrowed strength. A new arm sprouts from the stump. It bellows proudly that this is humanity's fatal weakness. Zhongdi gasps, murmuring the situation is dire. Goliath's whole body radiates dense energy. She realizes it's about to emit a mid-frequency wave, nullifying demon crystals. Zhongdi quickly raises her bow, shouting they must stop it before the strike only one chance. Chuyi freezes in confusion. The arrow flashes toward Goliath like lightning. It pierces through its body without causing harm. Zhongdi frowns in shock as her attack fails. Goliath retaliates, unleashing energy waves slicing through the air. Both barely dodge in time. But the bow in Zhongdi's hand trembles violently, then shatters into fragments. She bites her lip, despair flickering in her eyes. Goliath laughs viciously, mocking that humans without cores are insects easily crushed. Zhongdi kneels, voice choked, admitting it's too late. She pales, hopeless as its power exceeds human limits. Goliath strides closer arrogantly, savoring their fear. It sneers, threatening to merge them into itself. A cruel smile spreads as it tells them to scream loud when the pain comes. Suddenly, a devastating punch strikes, sending Goliath flying aside. Its body crashes violently, hitting the ground with a pained grimace. It glares furiously, roaring in rage. Struggling up, it screams in disbelief that the opponent is unharmed. Chuyi calmly twists his wrist, replying coldly that it reminded him. Then he crushes the object in his hand, releasing a glowing entity toward Goliath. Zhongdi stands stunned, murmuring in disbelief that Chuyi can use power without crystals. The three face each other in the open, tension surging. Goliath howls angrily that even with power, humans are nothing before it. One of its arms swells, surging with energy. It roars that only Chuyi remains. What can he do now? A contemptuous grin curls on the giant creature's lips. But Chuyi stays calm, showing no fear. He softly commands a summon. A blinding light tears through the night sky. A colossal foot stomps down, shaking the ground. From the radiant circle, Brawn appears, kneeling on one knee. Zhongdi gasps, murmuring that it's the creature Brawn Chuyi just summoned a spare boss? Goliath recoils in shock, uttering its name in disbelief. Chuyi frowns at Brawn, realizing the Beastman Lord of the secret realm bears that name. Perhaps a hidden bond links them. Brawn remains silent, offering no reply. It raises a massive fist and slams it into Goliath's face. Goliath withstands the blow, but it roars furiously, accusing Brawn of betrayal and selling his soul to humans. It steps back, eyes blazing with hatred. Brawn says nothing, points forward, and launches another attack. A sharp sword forms in Goliath's hand. It charges straight at Brawn, slashing down with ferocious power. Brawn draws his blade in time, sparks flying from the clash. Zhongdi gasps as the two monsters battle, exclaiming their power surpasses even evolved Goliath. She glances at Chuyi, filled with doubt, human or monster. What is he truly? Her gaze stays fixed on him, amazed that a being like Brawn obeys his command. The two beasts collide like thunder, cracking the earth open. A shard of rock flies toward Chuyi and Zhongdi. He swiftly bats it aside, then worriedly asks if she's hurt. Zhongdi looks at him curiously, intrigued. Chuyi forces a smile, asking why she looks at him like he's a monster. Zhongdi clasps her hands excitedly, requesting to examine him after the fight. Chuyi panics, muttering his secret is doomed. He steps back, pointing shakily at her. But before he can speak, Zhongdi places a hand on his shoulder, smiling brightly, promising to keep it secret. Then she runs forward, shouting for him to finish Goliath while she handles the rest. The clash between the two beasts grows fiercer. Goliath hears and roars angrily, asking if they mock him. It challenges that even if both attack by shifting energy frequency, none can harm it. Brawn grits his teeth under the blows, muttering that nothing damages its body. Chuyi smirks coldly, saying who said he had only one trait. He bends slightly, aura erupting. 4 radiant tails emerge behind him. Venom, fire, lightning, and corrosive power from mutant beasts. He swings them proudly, fusing all energies. He laughs, saying he's lost count of his own attributes. Goliath trembles, voice shaking, unable to believe a human holds such power. While it's distracted, Brawn lands a flaming punch from behind. Goliath quickly raises its arms to guard, body trembling. As flames coil around it, Chuyi charges from the opposite side. The 4 tails unleash 5 colored energy beams straight into Goliath. A massive explosion erupts, fire and smoke engulfing the battlefield. Goliath screams in unbearable pain. Zhongdi steps aside, shielding her eyes from the blinding flash. The older sister urgently warns, eyes flashing with concern. A vague silhouette emerges through the smoke. The figure becomes clearer bit by bit. The older sister freezes, eyes wide in shock. The sound of dripping blood echoes coldly. Seeing Goliath's sword pierce through Chuyi, she cries out in agony. Chuyi roars in fury, believing slaying the foe is the only path. Suddenly, Goliath is hurled into the air. Chuyi swings his gleaming sword, severing the enemy's head. He states coldly that he possesses the serpent's immortality. Goliath's head rolls across the ground, barely alive. It rasps unwillingly, refusing to accept defeat. Chuyi steps forward, standing firm before the fallen body. Zhongxi watches anxiously, her heart in turmoil. The elder sister stays silent, pondering the mysterious man. Zhongxi's face mixes joy and unease. Brawn shouts wildly, calling out Big Brother. Goliath joyfully clings to Chuyi's leg but is coldly pushed away. He drops to one knee, breathing heavily. Chu-Yi touches Goliath's head, and the system instantly warns of unpredictable evolution. His hand is covered in bluish slime. He gazes at it, eyes flashing with ambition for power. Without hesitation, he swallows the strange liquid. His body begins to change as the system issues danger signals. The transformation spreads across Chu-Yi's face. Ice engulfs his whole body, trapping him in a freezing prison. One day later, in the Zhang family's recovery room, Chu-Yi-nan lies motionless. His body remains encased in strange ice. Ailin anxiously asks why he ended up like this. Zhongji reassures her that his vitals are stable and he'll wake soon. The elder sister speaks sternly, saying there's something crucial to announce. Zhongji pauses, her gaze turning sharp. The woman's words stun everyone. Chu-Yi isn't human. She points to the data chart, saying his DNA differs completely from mankind's. Zhongji suspects Chu-Yi disguised himself to hide among humans. En looks confused, unable to grasp the situation. Chu-Yi slowly regains weak consciousness. He opens his eyes, bewildered, wondering what happened. A golden creature appears before him, the device reporting he consumed a demon crystal whose conflicting traits caused his body's rejection. A golden serpent floats before him, calmly announcing the side effects will soon fade. Ailin approaches the bed, carefully checking his condition. Zhongji quietly explains the organism in him holds dozens of traits, including traces of the evolved being. The elder sister watches him silently, warning that if he can neutralize nearby demon crystals, hell become a great threat to humanity. Zhongji looks around, saying this is their last chance before he regains full awareness. Ailin frowns and fiercely objects, asking if they intend to imprison him. Silence fills the room, heavy and tense. The elder sister continues coldly, asserting he's more dangerous than the evolved creature and decisive action is needed. Zhongji makes a drastic proposal right before him, shocking everyone. Zhong Yizheng leaps forward to shield him, refusing to let anyone touch the man he respects. Zhongjai warns loudly that their family helped him, and if the secret leaks, his life will be in danger. Ailin clenches her fists, firmly declaring her belief that he always fought for humanity, and Zhongzi agrees. He grips his hands, crying, convinced that no demon could ever be kind. Ailin and the others cry out together, voices filled with anger and emotion. Chu-Yi lies there worried, realizing they're debating how to deal with him. Zhongji sternly warns that past help doesn't prove his true nature. The elder sister recalls an old wound telling how a once harmless nurtured creature brought disaster. Zhongxi closes her eyes as memories of chaos and fallen comrades flood back like unhealed scars. Images of burning buildings and the reared beast destroying the largest outpost fill the elder sister's mind. Zhongdi clenches her fists, sharply declaring that sparing him would doom hundreds of thousands in the city. Ailin falters at the cold accusation that Chu-Yi is not human. She startles, heart pounding fast. Memories return of Chu-Yi helping her up amid the ruins. The image of him bravely wielding a staff against monsters appears. She murmurs about their unfinished mission. Chu-Yi's steadfast figure, rescuing others despite opposition, remains engraved in her mind. Biting her lip, she insists to herself Chu-Yi can't be a traitor to humanity. She steps forward, firmly challenging the elder sister to strike if she truly believes that judgment. Zhongdi's face darkens, her gaze cold as steel. She grips the controller tightly, her finger hovering over the activation button. Mechanical sounds rumble above Chu-Yi. The electric needle glows as energy gathers each second. Suddenly, a warning voice makes Zhongdi freeze. Opening, it means death. Memories flash of Chu-Yi's gentle smile when he volunteered to open the gate. She frowns, moved as she recalls him once saving her life. The image of him laughing with Goliath flickers through her thoughts. Seeing Goliath's sinister grin in her mind, she shivers, hesitating. Looking at Chu-Yi's attire, she tells herself he still belongs to the monsters. Yet the memory of his sincere eyes when holding her makes her doubt her heart. The charged injector now points directly at Chu-Yi's chest. Her hand trembles above the fatal button. Aaron shouts to stop her, reminding everyone of Chu-Yi's countless acts fighting, protecting, saving lives. Chu-Yi listens quietly, calm as Aaron tearfully admits fearing he may turn someday, but insists they'd be dead without him. Her words soften Jongdis' resolve. Her eyes lose their edge. Aaron presses harder, asking why summon them to witness if she truly meant to kill him. She steps closer, loudly forcing Jongdi to admit she can't bear to harm him. Jongji rushes forward, pleading desperately for her sister to stop. Jongdi looks down at the controller in her hand, motionless. Her eyes waver intensely. Suddenly, she hurls the controller down. The sealing machines instantly shut off. Jongji cheers with relief, her face bright and free. Ailin exhales deeply, shoulders relaxing. Then a voice echoes, startling all three, "Thank you." Chuyi sits up, voice steady, thanking them for choosing to believe in him. Ailin freezes, astonished, asking when he woke up. Chuyi props one leg on the table, smiling faintly, admitting he woke up when their argument began. That smile reveals the joy he can't hide inside. Jongdi pushes her glasses down, clearly embarrassed. He looks at them seriously, assuring he won't betray the trust they gave him. Ailin insists that Chuyi's identity must remain an absolute secret. She turns to Jongdi for agreement, eyes inviting silent complicity. Suddenly, Ailin's phone vibrates, drawing everyone's attention. She quickly reads the message, her face paling as she shouts, "There's trouble," and calls the deputy to the hospital. At the main hall of Minghai City Hospital, the four rush to the scene of the incident. Chuyi suddenly stops, a flicker of excitement in his eyes. Before them lie rows of wounded people sprawled across the grand lobby. A curly-haired soldier with a bandaged eye wearily asks for painkillers while his comrade helplessly answers they don't know. The sight enrages Chuyi. Medics are gone, extermination troops lie bloody across the hall. From a nearby room comes a loud shout, a man berating and demanding medical staff to come out. A nurse rushes in, nervously promising to tend to the patient. Inside, the nurse urges the patient to rest, but a man in black yells, causing chaos. In the ward, several men in black sit playing cards and laughing, mocking the situation. Chuyi frowns in anger, seeing the wounded neglected while others indulge. He wonders if the army plans to abandon the extermination team to die here. Suddenly, a loud command startles Chuyi as he calls out the leaders present. A man in black grabs an injured youth, shouting who allowed them to use the medicine. He threatens that all medical supplies are under military control and not for them. Chongji's veins bulge as fury ignites in her eyes. Jongji loudly declares the medicine belongs to the hospital and must go to the extermination squad. A silver-haired guard interrupts arrogantly, claiming the army has authority to reclaim all equipment here. Hubogul grits his teeth, ripping off his bandage and charging forward in defiance. The attacker draws a knife, slashing toward the man in black, shouting he's ready to fight to the death. The black-clad man retreats in fear, stammering questions about his intent, while the real threat still lurks nearby. Chuyi suddenly throws a forceful punch straight into the man's face, leaving him stunned. Blood sprays from the man's nose as the impact slams him into the wall. The one holding the medicine box stares in shock, unable to believe what he sees. Chuyi walks forward slowly, his commanding presence making the foe tremble motionless. He calmly picks up the medicine box without further violence. He helps the wounded to their feet, their eyes filled with deep gratitude. The man in black shouts furiously, accusing the extermination squad of rebellion. Chuyi turns away coldly, denying he belongs to the extermination squad. He reached out unusually fast, claiming to be just a despised passerby. Suddenly, someone blocked his hand, stopping his movement. Chuyi froze, surprised by the intervention. The newcomer introduced himself as the city's defending Major General, calmly standing between them. The man in black panicked and called for help from the arriving commander. The Major General crushed Chuyi's hand, shattering his bones with force. The system immediately warned of severe bone injury. The Major General lunged forward with the ferocity of a predator. He gripped Chuyi's neck, slamming him down and cracking the ground. Ailin ran over in panic, crying for help. Jongji stopped her, warning not to act rashly or be provoked. The Major General glared at Chuyi, coldly accusing him of invading a military zone and ordering arrest. Chuyi was pinned down, his strength fading. Tension spread outside the building. In a top-secret meeting room of Minghai City, discussions were underway. A report detailed heavy losses in the city defense campaign, with over half the extermination squad casualties. ROZ slammed the table angrily, cutting off the meeting. He declared he had read the data and urged to stop arguing and proceed with recruitment. Some attendees exchanged wary glances, staying calm. Jending frowned slightly at the proposal, showing suspicion. Rosie plotted to exploit the losses to plant military agents inside the extermination squad. He stood and made a brief but authoritative statement. Tomorrow was set as the official start of round 2 of the contest. The girl with glasses behind Keishuo fiercely objected, mocking the army for avoiding the battlefield. ROZ stayed silent, his icy eyes fixed on her. Keishuo raised his hand to halt the debate. He spoke calmly yet firmly, making the girl frown in frustration. ROZ, seeing no objections, finalized it, granting the army full control and appointing Major General Tha Bi as the second-round overseer. In the military prison's dark interrogation room, Tha Bi roared angrily, accusing the one who humiliated his disciple Tony Olaf before the crowd. He pointed at the bound Chu-Yi, demanding confirmation through clenched teeth. Chu-Yi hung in pain, his eyes burning with hatred. Tha Bi coldly ordered that none of them could join the next contest. The soldiers replied in unison. Chu-Yi glanced around at the other captives, suspecting a scheme targeting major clans. Suddenly, the prisoners trembled, their faces pale with fear. Soldiers wielding spiked iron clubs grinned wickedly, approaching the captives. Chu-Yi shouted loudly to draw attention to himself. The one with the club snapped his head around, eyes full of hatred. Chu-Yi smirked provocatively, challenging them to release him for a fair fight. He calculated that his immortal body could endure the blows, but the others couldn't. Enraged, the soldiers all turned their focus on him. One shouted to deal with him first. Chu-Yi was dropped, and as soon as he hit the ground, the first attack struck. A spiked punch pierced his stomach, followed by a heavy mace blow to the head. 2 soldiers pinned him down, beating him relentlessly amid mocking laughter. His blood splattered, his body bruised, and breath faltered. A soldier sneered, asking if he still dared act arrogant. The voice of Ran Shibeng echoed in his head, advising him to exploit the situation. It explained that the crystal within him remained and could use the injuries to perfect evolution. He nodded, understanding. Chu-Yi sneered, taunting them to hit his face if they still had strength. The soldiers grew furious, tightening their fists. One swung hard, punching him in the face without mercy. In the corner, a soldier watched Chu-Yi shielding others with his body. He silently felt grateful, vowing to survive for the man who risked himself for strangers. The crazed soldiers kept beating him, screams mixed with the sound of blood as the leader ordered harder strikes. Suddenly, the room's atmosphere dropped, signaling something unusual. Chu-Yi spat a dark red stream of blood onto a soldier's face, making them panic, thinking he was dead. He bowed his head silently, pretending to be motionless while fearing he'd scared them too much. Suddenly, Chu-Yi sprang up as if uninjured. He grinned mockingly, taunting his enemies. The soldiers went berserk, screaming to continue the attack. A strange, bright flash flickered on the wall. A thunderous explosion made everyone turn in panic. Through the dense smoke, Keishuo's group appeared. The soldiers screamed in terror upon seeing the chief commander. Keishuo had just slashed open the heavy steel gate. Ailin followed, shouting for all prisoners to be released. From the shadows, another figure emerged. Tha Bi clapped slowly, his voice dripping with sarcasm, praising the commander's power. He mocked that 36 alloy layers were destroyed in one strike, sneering that the extermination team was as arrogant as the army. Approaching Keishuo, he smiled provocatively, claiming the arrest was legal and demanding an explanation. Despite the mockery, Keishuo remained calm and silent. Tha Bi feigned friendliness, patting his shoulder and saying it was all a misunderstanding. With false respect, he joked and ordered the release with a scornful smile. The girl with glasses and tan Lu stood behind, their eyes filled with cold fury. Thabi took a few steps, then stopped, smirking. He deliberately announced shockingly that he would be the next round's examiner, coldly warning he'd remembered every face. His gaze swept through the crowd like a blade, daring them to meet again tomorrow at the contest. Stopping before Chu Yi, he narrowed his eyes with a faint smile, stressing that he especially awaited him in the arena. Afterward, the group was released and taken back to the Inner-City Research Institute. The extermination team members were placed in temporary infirmary rooms for treatment. Inside the institute, chaos reigned as the wounded lay everywhere awaiting care. Aylin busily organized supplies, piling medicine even into the hallways. When she looked toward Chu Yi's bed, it was already empty. She shouted in surprise, wondering where he had gone. A curly-haired soldier pointed toward the stairs, saying he'd just seen him go to the rooftop. On the rooftop, Chu Yi vented his rage on a punching bag, striking non-stop. He roared furiously, unleashing heavy blows that made the air tremble. From afar, Aylin silently watched him, eyes filled with worry and pity. His face looked weary, silent, and wordless. Chu Yi poured his anger into the bag, shouting why the extermination team wasn't seen as humanity's last hope, but treated as enemies instead. Each punch declared his resentment at being degraded like trash despite defending the city. The harder he hit, the more he lost control. Furious that the Goliath Research Institute neglected to empower awakened ones and angered by Thabit's control over the contest. He screamed that the selection should seek the strongest awakened to reclaim human lands, not serve noble clans' games. He channeled all his rage into the punching bag, cursing fiercely. Suddenly, a small hand stopped his punch. Chu Yi turned in shock and met Aylin's gaze. He froze awkwardly as she stepped closer. Aylin suddenly rose on her toes. She placed a gentle kiss on his cheek. The gesture stunned Chu Yi. His eyes widened, cheeks flushed, and heart raced. He stepped back, blushing in embarrassment, stammering at her bold act. Aylin softly asked if he felt calmer now. Caught off guard, he nodded shyly. She turned and gently invited, "Come have a drink with me." Chu Yi hesitated, but finally agreed. He grabbed a jacket near the bag and quietly followed her. They arrived at Whiskey Bar, a cozy little tavern. Both sat at the counter, his face still red from earlier. He stared at his drink, mumbling if her actions meant she liked him. The more he thought, the more confused he felt, heart pounding as he wondered whether to respond to her feelings. Suddenly, Aylin stood up and smacked his head, scolding him for spacing out. He rubbed the lump, mumbling he understood, and obeyed her words. "A bit drunk?" Aylin whispered for him to skip tomorrow's test, and he unconsciously agreed. Chu Yi jolted, shouting in shock and asking why he must quit. Aylin sipped her drink, explaining that the army sought to monopolize Ming Hai's forces, had planted judges, and would torture or suppress contestants to keep them from joining the extermination team. Hearing that, determination flared in Chu Yi as he gritted his teeth, refusing to back down. Aylin slammed her glass on the table in frustration. She sternly warned that the extermination team had nearly lost its chance to survive. She bowed sadly, admitting the army would slowly absorb them, branding any resistance as rebellion to be wiped out. Chu Yi's eyes dimmed at her words, and he stayed silent. The night was eerily quiet, as if foreshadowing an approaching storm. Drunken Aylin slumped on the table, still mumbling for him to listen. Even in her stupor, she worried for him, whispering that he already had enough strength. She murmured that if he left this place, he could live a better life. He watched her sleep, eyes full of gentle affection, saying nothing. Chu Yi raised his glass, took a sip, and wondered if he should leave. As soon as he tasted it, he spat it out, grimacing in disgust. A deep voice behind him warned him to drink carefully. Chu Yi turned, shocked to see Chief Commander Olaf sitting beside him. He softly said that only superiors at the base were allowed to drink that type of liquor. The bartender came over to take orders. Olaf calmly said, "Same as usual, 1 bottle." After hearing Aylin's story, Chu Yi lowered his head sadly, asking if the extermination team still had hope. Olaf didn't answer immediately, but asked how he felt living in Minghai City. Chuyi smiled faintly, saying the city reminded him of peaceful times before the apocalypse. Olaf smiled, saying the extermination team existed to bring back that feeling, and there would always be people devoted to that ideal. He looked straight at Chuyi and asked if he shared that belief. Chuyi firmly replied, eyes determined, that of course he did. Olaf smiled in satisfaction at his answer. At that moment, the bartender brought the drink. Olaf accepted it and thanked him. He stood to leave, reminding the bartender to charge Chuyi and Ailin's bill, and the bartender nodded. Chuyi shouted in protest, accusing the commander of being unfair, while Olaf laughed, saying he looked forward to his performance tomorrow. The next day, at the vast stadium, the announcer's voice echoed, praising the city's victory under Speaker Ossilov's command. He declared in excitement that the grand selection had begun again. The stands erupted in thunderous cheers. The host enthusiastically introduced the second-round judge. Thabit grew impatient, frowning at the long introduction. He suddenly kicked the host, sending him flying off the stage. The crowd gasped and shouted his title, Major General Thabit. He stepped forward coldly, arms crossed, briefly stating the rules were very simple. He leaped into the arena, declaring that lasting 3 minutes would mean passing. Standing in the center, Thabit raised his head proudly, challengingly calling for the first participant. In the stands, upon hearing Thabit's name, Jiao froze in disbelief. She muttered his name, face filled with hesitation and shock. Chuyi noticed her reaction, quietly asked, and Jiao replied that he had been their internship instructor. She explained that Thabit was once called the God of Slaughter, setting a record for killing hundreds of monsters in his first year of service. The scene shifted to the arena as the MC announced the first match. As soon as the signal ended, a young man with a hammer charged in with the opening strike. Thabit merely glanced, eyes flashing, then kicked straight into his opponent's face. A single blow dropped the contestant instantly. The hammer wielder was thrown into the wall, blood splattering everywhere. With beast-like red eyes, Thabit coldly declared there were no limits. Anyone afraid to die should quit. His words made the remaining contestants pale, whispering in panic at such cruelty. Tauchi was called next, stepping shakily into the arena. But he suddenly turned and fled, leaving the MC stunned. While running, he recalled yesterday's prison escape, realizing lasting 3 minutes was impossible. In a blink, Thabit appeared right behind him. He delivered a lethal kick that twisted the man's body and cracked the ground beneath. Chuyi widened his eyes in shock at the incredible speed, analyzing that survival without counterattack was impossible. Thabit stood in the center, his voice echoing as he called for the next fighter. Before he finished, a contestant named Moku thrust a steel spear straight at his stomach. The MC shouted excitedly, thinking the strike had landed. In the stands, the Moku clan cheered proudly. Thabit looked back coldly, his breath making his armor crack ominously. The contestant froze, unsure what was about to happen. Instantly, his body was flung away, arm shattered, blood spraying everywhere. Chuyi stammered in shock, unable to comprehend what was happening. Jiao explained that Thabit possessed a counterattack ability. Any harm he took was reflected back. Chuyi recalled their earlier encounter, muttering that he now understood his past injuries. Zhangche screamed in panic, realizing they couldn't fight or flee. Thabit coldly called for the next participant. This time, a contestant from the military faction stepped out and saluted the Major General. Thabit's expression softened slightly toward his subordinate. He didn't attack, merely nodding to confirm the man had passed. The overly easy decision left the entire stadium stunned. Chuyi and Ailin, though expecting injustice, still burned with outrage at such blatant bias. A buzz-cut man in the audience shouted angrily, but his friend quickly pulled him down in fear. He looked up and realized soldiers stood before him, breaking into a cold sweat. Terrified, he forced a flattering smile and nervously clapped, while his friend urged him to join in. The fake applause thundered through the arena like rolling storms. Chuyi and Zhongche stood up in disbelief, unable to grasp why people cheered such wrongness. The forced applause continued, filling the air with suffocating tension. In the hallway leading to the arena, on one side, wounded extermination team contestants were carried away on stretchers. On the other, military contestants walked leisurely, smug and disdainful. The last two remaining participants watched in silence, faces heavy with despair, whispering what they should do next. Suddenly, Ocelov appeared at the entrance, his deep voice announcing one final chance. He sternly asked who still wished to join the city's defense force. The air grew tense as several people frowned uneasily. A blond youth muttered that there was no way back, looking toward Ocelov. He knelt and kissed Ocelov's feet in submission, earning a nod of approval. The military contestants burst out laughing, mocking him as a flattering dog. OLF shouted in fury, denouncing the oppression and declaring his withdrawal. Ocelov's face turned cold. He said nothing, only glancing at him with a blade-like stare. A stream of red blood sprayed out, staining everything around. Thabit stood in the arena, hands in pockets, coldly staring at the fallen man before calling the next. The MC loudly announced the next named contestant, number 21, Lu Jiao. The girl's silhouette stepped forward under countless stares. The soldiers murmured in surprise, shocked that the next challenger was Lu Jiao. Lu Jiao walked out nervously, knowing she would face Thabit. Two soldiers sneered, calling her a traitor. In the waiting area, Chu Yi worriedly told her to withdraw if she couldn't endure, but Lu Jiao calmly replied it might be too late for that. On the field, she lifted her head proudly, eyes firm, thinking there was no turning back. Lu Jiao advanced with bold determination, ready to fight. Thabit saw his former student, momentarily surprised before growling in anger that she dared appear before him. She said nothing, gripping her spear tightly, eyes burning with resolve to fight to the end. The MC shouted the signal to begin. As soon as the call ended, Lu Jiao launched the first move. She raised her spear, thunder roared, and she yelled, "Tian Mo Lei Chi Nu," lightning engulfing the arena. Zhang She gasped at her incredible casting speed, while Chu Yi smiled, saying she had stored energy from the previous battle. Lightning exploded, shaking the air as time seemed to freeze. The MC excitedly praised her power and wondered if she could withstand the judge's counterattack. Lu Jiao lifted her face with a confident smile, stunning the MC when no counterstrike occurred. Thabit trembled slightly, smoke rising from his armor as he realized she'd avoided direct contact, nullifying his counter ability. Realizing the trick, Thabit dashed forward like lightning, and the MC shouted that the counterattack had begun. He sneered coldly, boasting that one strike like that couldn't defeat him. With his blinding speed, the MC exclaimed that Lu Jiao seemed to have no chance left. Suddenly, Thabit froze mid-step, his face twisting in shock. He looked down to see black lightning surging from the pool of blood beneath his feet. He stammered in disbelief, realizing the lightning came from the blood on the floor, his body now paralyzed. Lu Jiao smiled coldly, saying she had lured him into a trap meant not to attack, but to finish him. She explained that her previous lightning had merged with the blood of wounded contestants, forming a massive thunder net, the second phase of her strike. The MC marveled at her perfect calculation, while Thabit roared in frustration, admitting the paralysis effect was too strong to resist. Lu Jiao seized the advantage, eyes shining as she spun her spear to summon new lightning, shouting she only needed to hold for 2 more minutes. On the field, Thabit was cornered, trapped among blood pools turned electric nets, surrounded inside her lightning cage. The MC clenched his fists in excitement, shouting that Lu Jiao's tactic worked. She had imprisoned Thabit. Suddenly, Thabit tensed, muscles bulging, his shirt tearing apart under immense pressure. Lu Jiao charged her spear again, calmly saying the victims he had tortured helped form this trap, and even a captain-level fighter couldn't easily escape. Despite her words, she trembled inside, worrying what to do if he broke free. Suddenly, Thabit spoke in a low tone, saying he had something to ask directly. He glared at her furiously, demanding why she, once a brilliant soldier with a bright future, chose betrayal. Lu Jiao closed her eyes slightly, silently listening. She told herself to prolong the talk for time, then calmly said, "Want to know why? Fine. I'll show you." Her eyes turned sorrowful as she whispered for him to recall what he had done. The scene shifted to the past. In the harsh recruit training grounds, Lu Jiao panted, her body covered in wounds, yet stood firm, shouting for the soldiers to charge together. The soldiers frowned, sneering in disdain. They lunged at her all at once, attacking without restraint. Suddenly, Shen Ka appeared, delivering a thunderous kick that sent one attacker flying. The kick hurled him far, blood spraying, leaving the rest frozen in fear. Shen Ka, Lu Jiao's close friend, stepped forward like a storm. Lu Jiao gasped, calling her friend's name amid the downpour. Without hesitation, Shen Ka rushed in, punching the curly-haired man ahead. The fist sliced through the rain, slamming into his face. The curly-haired man fell unconscious, collapsing on the cold ground. The blond man watching retreated in terror. He didn't notice Lu Jiao closing in behind, eyes cold as ice. A scream echoed, blood splattered, and he dropped instantly. The field was left covered with motionless soldiers. Lu Jiao collapsed to her knees, breathing heavily. Shen Ka approached, offering her hand to help her up. She looked into Lu Jiao's eyes, firmly saying the final test awaited, they must face it together. Lu Jiao smiled faintly, her eyes shining with belief. She grasped Shen Ka's hand tightly, replying resolutely, "Let's move forward." Torrential rain poured down, a sign of ill fate to come. The final examination officially began. On the battlefield, Lu Jiao stood opposite her best friend, Shen Ka. In the elite squad test, they were forced to become opponents. From the observation post, Thabit watched with amused interest. He smirked and shouted the command to begin. The two remained silent, then charged at each other without hesitation. The battle erupted fiercely, lightning flashing through the storm. Amid pounding rain echoed the clash of fists and ragged breaths. In a brief opening, Shen Ka seized Lu Jiao's shoulder, startling her. She sprang up, pouring all her strength into a decisive blow, eyes unwavering. Lu Jiao closed her eyes, thinking she was about to fail, her hand trembling. But Shen Ka suddenly froze, lowering his head to hide his conflicted gaze. The space fell silent, with only the heavy sound of rain remaining. Lu Jiao opened her eyes, stunned to see Shen Ka kneeling down. She looked up, gasping, softly saying, "You win." Lu Jiao was shocked, realizing Shen Ka had deliberately yielded. On the platform, Thabit took a drag from his cigarette, his eyes darkening. He casually tossed the gun between the two of them. Both stared at the gun, minds tangled in confusion. Thabit feigned boredom, speaking mockingly as if recalling something forgotten. He coldly declared that the real rule of the test was to kill the opponent to win. Both widened their eyes, hearts stopping in horror and disbelief. Lu Jiao trembled and shouted in protest, refusing, while Shen Ka stayed silent, torn inside. From behind, other contestants also shouted their refusal, begging to withdraw. Immediately, a gunshot rang out. The first rebel was shot dead instantly. Another person panicked, raising his hands to beg for mercy. But a bullet pierced his head, blood splattering everywhere. The brutal scene left Lu Jiao frozen, fear gripping her heart. She and Shen Ka realized that defiance meant certain death. Shen Ka angrily shouted at Thabit, demanding why he was so cruel to loyal warriors. Thabit exhaled smoke, replying coldly that only obedience or extinction remained. Lu Jiao looked at her friend, firmly whispering she would never harm Shen Ka. The soldiers immediately aimed their guns, announcing the countdown had begun. In despair, Shen Ka bent down and picked up the gun. Lu Jiao stood frozen, stunned by his action. Shen Ka turned to Lu Jiao with a sorrowful, regretful smile. Lu Jiao returned the gaze in silent pain and confusion. Suddenly she understood. Her eyes softened as she accepted fate, admitting she lacked the courage to shoot him. No one expected Shen Ka to raise the gun to his own temple and smile gently. The drizzle fell as she whispered for permission to live on. A gunshot echoed. Lu Jiao watched her friend sacrifice himself so she could survive. Blood splattered, dyeing Lu Jiao's stunned face red. She looked at Shen Ka's cooling body, recalling their old vow. Well, ascend together. A man behind watched the tearful tragedy, sighing bitterly and mocking her survival. The scene shifted back to the present. On the arena, Lu Jiao gripped her spear, lightning coursing through her body, screaming that he destroyed their best memory and made laws crueler than monsters. With only hatred in her eyes, Lu Jiao roared that she would now take revenge with her own hands.